Kirito!
Who are you people, and why are you at my table?
Ah, Kirito. Can I call you Kirito?
No.
Here's the thing, Kirito. I couldn't help but noticing while I was rifling through your character
I
page
thought I had that set to private.
that you are not associated with any guilds. So the crew and I call them the crew by the way, were thinking that you should join our guild.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Now I know what you're thinking. Am I really worthy to join these awesome dudes?
I've literally never thought that about anyone.
But let me assure you, we could certainly use someone with your assets. Ugh.
Hey, my eyes are down here.
Right. So what do you say, Key? Can I call you Key?
God, no!
I see. And what if I put on this hat?
Oh, don't be ridiculous. What the hell am I signing?
To the newest member of the Moonlit Black Cats, to Kirito!
Damn it!
So let me introduce you to the crew. I call them the crew, by the way.
So I've heard.
This here is Sachi. And the rest are NPCs.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they're all companions from different quests. They help you fight, and as long as you never finish, they stay with you.
We must save my family!
The bandits are coming!
Is that important?
Nah, it's just part of the quest. They say that like every 4 seconds.
Always remember to jump!
And he's from the tutorial. It's not a good tutorial.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the show that says if Edge is going to play Atom Smasher for Flash, when is Steve Austin going to play Egghead? I am Jeremy.
Steve. And Jesse.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard was from SAO Abridged Parody Episode 3. You can find more videos under their YouTube channel at SWE Abridged. How are you doing today?
Not too bad. I'm getting lost in Destiny for some reason. Keep losing track of time.
Why would you do that?
Well, the expansion just came out.
Wow, Jesse, your voice changed. What happened? Jesse, you gotta learn to finish your own questions, man. What happened?
I didn't ask a question. I just made a statement.
I asked you a question. You didn't answer it. You just sat there like a lump. Did you just nod your head and forget that there's no video again?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Steve, what have you been up to the last few days?
Working.
Yeah, I could say the same. I've had to deal with about 48 emails in the last 24 hours.
Good Lord.
Yeah. There's a company called Nth Degree. They got in touch with me while I was at Long Beach Comic-Con offering... what they want to do is advertise this new printable light they have. They print it onto a transistor, and it creates this filament of light when you run a current through it. So as I was talking to them, they said, you have a podcast. You're just the guys we want to talk to about advertising. Can we do an interview? It's like, well, of course we can do an interview. This sounds intriguing. Okay, and can you find us some cosplayers? Why? And of course my brain is going in places like, are you trying to find Harley Quinn naked like a lot of people are? And they say that, we want cosplayers to use some of our light ribbons as a form of free advertising. You put it in costumes, wear it around places. Like, oh, well, that's cool. Okay. So on Tuesday, I put a post on the MSP Facebook page. It says, there's this company that wants to give away some of their ribbon lights for people to use in costumes, as a form of advertising. If you have an interest, send me an email at mspfreight.com and, with your plan and when you're going to wear it and all this stuff. And after 6 hours, I got one email. So I'm thinking to myself,
really?
Okay, well, yeah, 6 hours, one email. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I screwed that up, fine. Fall asleep, wake up the next morning. My phone is going crazy with the number of notifications it has on it. I have emails from across the U.S., several points in Canada, and at least once from England, Ireland, France, and Spain.
Well.
Yeah. Okay, so I have one serious question. Why the frick are you people not following us on Twitter? Where are you people coming from? Seriously. Jeez. So I got to compile a list because I'm going to contact this guy tomorrow with all these proposals because I'm sure he's not going to entertain all 60 necessarily. But he'll probably take a bunch of it under advisement. If I have to be on some kind of selection committee, I'm not sure how... That's going to be fracking awkward. I get to sit there like Tim Gunn on Project Runway. Oh, I don't know about this costume. That's not going to be fun. The subject of the week is Cable and Deadpool from 2000, and I think it's 2003. First 6 issues. But before we get into that, we have our usual news of the week, and that, actually, before we get into the Kickstarter corner, there's one story that came up on Throb. They're a, They're a subsidiary of Gizmodo. And they brought something up I just had to toss out there. The Republican debate, the second one, is going on tonight, and it's actually happening in Simi Valley, California. About 2 townships over from where I'm sitting right now. Mm-hmm. And there is a company called Crave that's found an interesting way to cash in on the Republican debate. They're offering a 50% discount on all of their designs only while the primaries debate is happening, in hopes of trying to lift people's spirits.
Rather challenging considering the subject matter. Well,
sort of. Do you know what Crave does?
No.
They're a vibrator company. So if you're watching the Republican debate and decide this is too depressing, just turn on your computer while the debate is still happening, go to lovecrave.com and order yourself a vibrator for 50% off today only during the debate. There's part of that that's absolutely laughable, and there's that small sliver in the back of my brain going, you're brilliant.
This could work.
Talk about driving sales. Everybody's going to need a smile after that's over.
Yeah.
The only crowdfunder I have is the Next Generation Backpack. We talked a little bit about this last week. There's a company out in Austin, Texas that has created what they call the iBackpack. It is a backpack that has a GPS tracking system, Bluetooth proximity locator, retractable USB power cord, lithium-ion batteries, multiple USB connections, up to 4 USB connections available in the bottom, Bluetooth speaker system, mobile app suite, and a personal Wi-Fi hotspot capability. To get this, it looks like it would only be to back at the $149 level, and then maybe a little more for shipping, and they would ship it to you as soon as they've finished the production phase. This thing has 27 days left in it on Indiegogo.com. It has 1,514 backers. The goal to get this in production is $50,000. Currently sits at $346,768. It's not a matter of if, but when at this point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Considering the convention lifestyle I lead and everything, this is almost precisely what I need, frankly. It's a backpack. It carries laptop and a bunch of other things. It has multiple pockets for all your different devices and needs. And it has a battery in the bottom. Holy frick. There are people
worried about the weight of the damn thing.
I doubt it would be that serious. I think you probably have more weight by the general infrastructure from the way this thing breaks down. Because I have a lithium-ion battery I carry in my backpack, and it is not a large thing. It's lighter than a cell phone in general, and this thing has 2 batteries in the bottom. That's it. So, this sounds about perfect for me. At the very least, there are people out in San Diego who would kill for something like that after a little while. But moving into video game news, there is a new horror game coming out called Late Night Stop. It's in early development, but the early idea is very frackin' intriguing. You're trying to escape mannequins.
Okay.
Mannequins. Okay.
Mannequins, yeah. See, every time the mannequin leaves your view, it's able to move and follow you.
It's really sounding like a couple of Doctor Who episodes right now.
Yeah.
It's very much like the concept of Weeping Angels, except this game can either be played in the standard format or it can be played in VR. It's in early alpha, and they released a YouTube video to go with it.
I'm curious.
Yeah, it's in pre-alpha phase, and again, it's called The Late Night Shop. There we go. I sent the video. So, it looks... Is that a car or a motorcycle he's riding?
It's like a car.
Yep.
Okay, it's a car. From Mada. That sounds
it's
pretentious.
obviously being developed by...
Europeans?
Yeah.
Find the security office.
Oh, you blink. Interesting.
Yeah, that was something I read about in the initial story, is that every once in a while, the character will blink, like most people do. And, of course, blinking counts as losing sight of mannequins. Man, this in VR would just be terrifying. They picked a nice palette for everything. It's appropriately spooky without being like, cockroaches on walls and stuff jumping out at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You already saw one of those mannequins.
I've already seen several.
Yeah, they're not there anymore.
There's a mannequin.
Yep.
See it
And
shift.
it moved.
It turned.
Yeah.
Oh, and it moved again. And blinking. Okay. Whoa, they're fast.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
definitely
I'm getting a little bit of
is.
chills.
It does set a nice tone.
This
doesn't it?
is actually terrifying.
That guy's moving.
It's at the door already.
So it looks like it's
Now,
just
if it has
walk and
razor
run in
sharp
this game.
teeth and a smile, I'm gonna fucking run.
The other landing.
Oh
Uh-oh.
fuck!
They got up.
Did he use hero pose?
Uh-huh. Wow. Other landing. Wonder what the hell that meant. That's damn.
Oh god.
Music's pretty well timed.
Yeah, it is. It's very minimalist, too. It definitely leaves you to your imagination a lot.
Oh, there's one.
Oh, yeah. Now I see it.
Two.
Oh, God. Doesn't look like it can follow you from room to room, thankfully. Wow. They really do move
and then
quick.
it blacks out right there.
That's actually... It's not exactly an original idea after Doctor Who, but their execution is actually pretty damn good.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where you should never play alone in a dark room, though. I have a feeling you would have a lot of trouble with rest afterwards.
Stream it.
Let's see. The next story we have, there's StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void launching on November 10th. This is second
6th.
expansion pack. The story I have says the 10th.
Last time I looked, it was the 6th.
When was the last time you looked?
Sunday?
Okay, this story came out as of Sunday. Yeah, the 13th. Second expansion pack launches November 10th. Blizzard revealed it during the World Championship Series Season 3 finals on Twitch.
Yep.
So the release date announcement came with a cinematic trailer.
Those are always good.
Yeah, it was.
Usually.
Good.
Oh, Blizzard makes awesome cinematic trailers.
I would probably know more about that if I played any Blizzard game with any sort of regularity. I really can't think of one I have.
I haven't played any. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, World of Warcraft player.
Hey, I kicked that habit.
It's video games, not heroin.
That depends on how you think of it.
It's video games, not heroin. I have 3 kids. I can't afford to sit down and think that long. Anyway, I sent the video. May contain content inappropriate for midgets. Yes, I get it. Thank you. Fine. Whatever. Master Chief?
No, the standard Blizzard.
Oh. Sub-Zero attacks. And large...
Swarm brought ruin.
It looks like this is where Michael Bay's Cybertronians came down.
No, this would be the planet Ire.
Our proud
Oh.
people became refugees.
Oh,
Nice
so they are
dreads.
Cybertronians.
And yet, they could not shatter our unity.
Predacons, attack!
Yeah, that's kind of when you know you're screwed. When the Zerg come up out of the ground, you're just like, ah, damn it.
Of our
Oh, I thought you meant when Megatron comes down with the Predacons. That you know you're screwed then.
No, I'm ignoring all of your...
Ah. Three, 4, 3, Guilty Spark.
Oh, that's a probe.
Yep. And it's making a warp gate. And Banelings.
Banelings.
Excellent. Oh, if only they died so easily.
Whee!
Well, it's not that he died so easy, that he survived it so easily.
You need a better windshield.
Oh,
Storm.
Get up, Pim.
Alright, so what
Save
what
this
the
other-
hell is he
save this
summoning?
other-
Oh, fuck. Ultralisk.
That's okay. All you need is one pissed off one
Oh,
with a
no.
machine gun and a flamethrower.
these are two
That's
Two
it.
Templars.
Templars. Two Templars.
Did they just gay marry?
Nope. They just made death. Of course, yeah. There's no
They
way
made a
that one of those
Kardashian.
would be able to take one Ultralisk. I'm kind of curious if they're going to give this ability to them in the game. That's a little OP though.
Oh!
Couldn't say. Only had 3 more payments left on that.
Oh, and there they are still.
Yeah, they're just Zerglings.
Yeah, but it's one Zealot.
Yep. Well, it was. Pylon!
Pylon!
And Protoss ability, teleport.
we
Excellent.
retake our home world. And with it, our legacy.
Charging Zealots.
Yep. I'm kind of curious if the guy with one eye is supposed to be a named character of some sort.
Would
I
be
couldn't say.
interesting.
Well, yeah, November 10th. Okay.
Mark your calendars.
I've already pre-ordered it.
Well, Metal Gear Solid has an interesting glitch in it.
Really?
Yeah, it's not exactly a game breaker, and it's very easy to make. What you need to do is select weapon modules with the left mouse button on PC instead of using Enter or Spacebar, and you can get past the game's usual restrictions when it comes to weapon building. And by doing this, you can make silence grenade launchers. No, sorry, I had that wrong. You can make silence rocket launchers.
Oh, wow.
Oh! Okay, that makes a lot more sense, I think.
Yeah, there's a Redditor named Dutch McDuffin that's laid down the entire instructions. I'm not going to bother with that simply because that's got to be frustrating when you're running around. You see, out of nowhere, a missile just hits you. No explanation, no
Where'd it
telltale
come from?
sound, just missile. You know, it's a lot like Donald Trump. You have no idea where it came from, but it's just going to create a huge frickin' mess. But and Street Fighter V has had another character reveal, and this one is actually whole new. It is not a repeat. They just introduced their first Middle Eastern character. His name is Rashid.
I've seen that one. That was pretty awesome, actually.
He had an interesting reveal video. It came out as of September 11th, which was last Friday. And it appears his primary ability is going to be air. I think he'll be the first character that has an elemental attack of air, where most others have been, earth or fire for the most part. I sent the video.
Peggy 12.
Nice of you to tell us who came out with the video. Thank you. There he is.
I am Rashid of the Turbulent Wind. Remember the name well.
If you're going to introduce yourself as a member of the Turbulent Wind, does that mean you came with a chili? I've watched this video, and most of Rashid's tricks seem to be counterattack. A lot of his ways have to do with being able to sidestep other people's assault so he can get in close.
Yep.
However, his wind attacks seem to be self-sustaining for a certain amount of time. That's a vicious
That reminds
super.
me of a Jin right there.
Yeah. definitely not going to be one of those characters that's easy to pin down.
No, he's going to... I'm sure a lot of people are going to spend some time trying to feel that particular one out since it's brand new. And as a reminder, Street Fighter V is still an exclusive for the PS4 only.
Yep.
Now, because we talk about video games, it's almost inevitable that stories come out about League of Legends. And we've talked about some of the weird things that happen in the game, some of the more interesting plays. This one has to do with douchebaggery, unfortunately.
Oh.
There is a YouTuber who's recently been banned from League of Legends. Okay?
Okay.
He was banned for toxic behavior. His YouTube name is Dunkey, Dunkey. And he shared what got him banned because he disagrees with it. He played under the screen name Meatwad Sprite, and what he typed was frackin' vile. Quote, Malphite, you are a fucking worthless brain-dead scumfuck bastard pile of trash mental dick face that should be gunned down in the street like the degenerate you are, unquote.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes up is half of his words don't seem to be in the correct syntax. They're just kind of toxic words strung together, I guess, for added effect. But Dunkey decided to double down on his banning, declaring that on his YouTube channel he is done with League of Legends. Like it was his choice.
And it really doesn't matter.
No, he decided to put on his YouTube channel, quote, I can understand being banned for cheating or going AFK or feeding on purpose. But talking shit to some guy that's a total dumbass, what is this, fucking pussy-ass baby preschool time? Talking shit is probably one of the only fun parts of this boring-ass game. I might as well play the box if you want people to act like robots, Riot. I wonder if Riot understands that the root of toxicity is the game. It's just not fun and it pisses people off. Let me be serious here. League of Legends doesn't work as a competitive game or a fun party game to play with your friends. As of today, I have more than 8,000 matches played on this game, so I have some legitimate grounds to review the game on. I've been consistently putting League videos out since I started out on YouTube. So I emailed Riot and I said, hey, can you guys unban me so I can finish this video up? Now keep in mind, during my whole career of being the top guy promoting their game for 4 years, Riot has done almost nothing to help me out or promote me. And I emailed them for this first and only favor, and they respond to me, nope, you're toxic. And that's when I realized that this company doesn't appreciate me at all, or anything I stand for. I think multiplayer games should reward the time and practice you put into them, and that you should be able to call other people scumfuck bastards and connect with your friends and have fun playing with them. And League of Legends offers none of these things, so I'm done with it, unquote.
Good riddance.
Yep. I'm sure they're holding a party right now.
It must be so nice to be that delusional.
Oh, God.
I mean, for frack's sake, man, it's not like his videos made League of Legends what it is.
Not to mention the fact that you aren't an employee. No, they never asked you to do any of this. So, no, they are under no requirements to accommodate you in any way.
No, and quite frankly, if they followed the same rules Nintendo did, they could probably have all their videos taken down.
Yeah. Well, not to mention the fact that, it's their property.
It's okay. The lead game designer of social systems on League of Legends, his name is Jeffrey Lin. Okay? He heard about Dunkey's issue, so he decided to respond on Twitter as of September 12th. Quote, many of us love Dunkey's content. We can discuss the contents of his reform card, but hate speech isn't okay in real life, and it isn't okay online. Unquote. Jeffrey Lin also told Ask.fm, quote, we really can't show favoritism to someone just because they're a pro or a known content creator.
Yeah, that's the thing. He violated their content rules.
He continued, we have a zero-tolerance policy against hate speech, racism, homophobia, and sexism, and that policy stands whether you're a random player, a pro player, or a YouTube celebrity. We know that players have been asking us to be more aggressive against international feeders for a while, and it's taken us a bit longer than we like. At the end of the day, this incident sucks for everyone. We respect that Dunkey hasn't posted his reform card, and I'm not going to post it either. Best wishes to him in the future, unquote.
Line's been drawn.
Yeah, line's been drawn is not one Dunkey can win, frankly. And I don't care how many hours of video he has or how many followers he has. Douche is still douche.
Yeah.
Yep.
The newest legendary Pokemon, I think they've finally gone too far.
Okay.
There's... God, I don't even know where to start with this thing. It's called the Zygarde. It has 5 forms.
5?
Yeah, and this sounds ridiculously tedious for just about any game I would play. The first form is the Zygarde cell. According to the Pokemon Company, quote, this stage has been identified as the single cells that make up Zygarde. Cells do not possess any will or thought processes. They're found scattered throughout the region. Since they can't use any moves, researchers question whether or not they can even be called Pokemon, unquote. So apparently you gather up enough of these cells, and then you can create the second form, the Zygarde core. Quote, at this stage, the aspect of Zygarde is little more than a part of the Pokemon's brain. Unlike the cells, the cores are self-aware and can communicate with cells and other cores via telepathy. When a change occurs in the local region's ecosystem, cores have been known to take action, unquote. Okay, it still doesn't...
Terrorist cells? Oh.
I don't know. I mean, for all we know, it could be hackers. For all we know, it could be gamers.
Yeah, who knows?
Could be people who are interested in hentai, for all I know. But then you get to Zygarde 10%. Quote, Zygarde 10% is the form that the Zygarde core takes when it gathers 10% of the cells nearby. Capable of traveling over 60 miles per hour, it defeats enemies with its sharp fangs and its incredible speed. It kind of looks like an 8-bit version of a Doberman Pinscher with green accents, and there's a little bit of pixel bleed.
Well, my thing is, okay, so it manages to get 10% of the cells nearby.
No, it's just 10% complete form.
Oh, okay, because when you said the description, it said 10% of the cells nearby. I'm like, okay, so if there's only 10, it got 1?
It gets better. Zygarde 50% form. Quote, this legendary Pokemon watches over and maintains the local ecosystem. Until recently, this was the only known form of Zygarde. In actuality, this form only has 50% of the cells in its structure, unquote. So by the sound of it, 50% is 50% of the total cells it would take to make up this form.
Mm.
Or 50% on your way to, whatever total you need to get to the final form, which is called Zygarde Complete. Quote, this is the perfect form that Zygarde takes when the core gathers 100% of the cells. When the ecosystem is under threat and the core concludes that 50% form will be unable to deal with it, the core takes on the complete form. Its power is said to be greater than that of the legendary Pokemon Xerneas and Yveltal? What the frack,
Why did you just
guys?
call the same thing Cell and get it over with?
I don't know. It has 5 forms. Why don't they just call it Voltron and get it the frick over with? I sent you guys a link so you could take a look at the images and what the frack. The top image is the complete form. And I don't know where the red and the blue comes into it. But if you scroll down, you can see the 5 evolutions of this thing. And this just sounds utterly tedious. Finding enough cells to put together a core, then it sounds like more than a few cores to put together the 10% form, and then you got to keep going. Yeah, this is too much, man. But on the bright side, Pokemon could be reaching a new echelon. There's a new alternative reality game coming out called Pokemon Go. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay, it's being made by a company called Niantic. Niantic is famous for another game called Ingress. Ingress has been played by over 7 million people over the last few years. It's a game where people use cell phones and real-world locations to set up portals at landmarks, okay? Players are split into factions that will war with one another over control of these points. It's nerdy as hell. But here's the thing. Ingress has been known to... I don't want to use the word incite. How about inspire people to break into forbidden landmarks and off-limits properties so they can set up portals in hard-to-reach locations? Now you want to take a company that has created technology that's driven people to small forms of insanity, and now you want them to use an AR game to walk around wherever and catch Pokemon. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You can one day grab your cell phone, look at your family, and say, I'm leaving home to become a Pokemon master, and frickin' mean it. They did come out with a 2-minute trailer in regards to this innovation. Dare we?
I think I've already seen it, but let's tempt fate.
Oh, this is going to be something else. I sent the video.
The words alternate reality game were the last thing some hardcore Pokemon fans wanted to hear last night. I understand why.
Looking at these people get geared up, it's like the
mobile,
joke we just told about leaving home to be a
Pokemon
master.
Go could be the shot in the arm that the series needs. The key lies with Niantic, the developers who are working on Pokemon Go. Perhaps you've heard of Ingress, Niantic's previous game. It's a game where people use phones in real-world locations to set up portals at interesting landmarks. Okay, look.
Okay, so they reference
it's nerdy as
Niantic.
fuck. There's no getting around that.
Wow.
Let me put it to you this way.
Okay.
It's a sort of game that people fly to remote towns for. People have climbed mountains to play it. People have gotten accidentally detained by the police playing it. And Ingress doesn't have Pikachu. Concretely, we know that Pokemon Go is a game where people will travel to real-world locations to capture, trade, or battle monsters.
Imagine people flying all around the world just to catch
interact
digital
with
monsters.
Other players in real life. This opens up a lot of possibilities. Imagine,
this could open up a lot of frustration.
You know, at least it gets them out of the house.
Capture Charizard.
Yeah, but would you want to spend the $6,000
or
to fly around the world so you can catch a rare Pokemon?
And challenging them right there,
yeah, I guess.
Like you would in the games. Imagine banding together with other players to form a real-world Team Rocket, whose sole aim is to cause havoc and steal Pokemon. I can't even.
That'll get the game banned pretty quick.
Never mind the bonkers things that probably will happen.
Pokemon gangs.
I fully expect to hear ridiculous stories like Florida man gets shot while fighting over Mewtwo, or woman dies in Antarctica while searching for Articuno. If not, Pokemon players arrested for breaking into whatever place. At the very least, I wouldn't be surprised if some phones or accounts got stolen. Pokemon is already the sort of game where people are willing to cheat.
Gotta catch them all.
To catch them all. If people get upset and worked up over special Pokemon being limited to certain stores,
did she just join something, or did she get challenged?
Going to react to an entire game with that very premise, especially if
no, he brings up a very good point because
there's still a lot of unknowns. We don't know the nitty-gritty of how the game will work. We have no idea what the microtransactions.
Well, I'm sorry, I got distracted by the Mewtwo fight. Yeah, but you know, everybody does already get upset over the fact that you can only get this particular Pokemon if you go to this, if you buy it in this area, or if you do this or you do that. Now all of a sudden you've got to go to a particular region in the world, and then somebody hacks your account and steals all your shit. Yeah, there's going to be some epic rage quits.
Unfortunately, that's potentially possible with just about anything these days. A lot of games require online components that are at risk for hacking, so it's a lot like when people say, I'm not going to give my social security number. Technically, that risk is already supplied just because you have to use your social security number in just about everything in this goddamn country.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that when they give their social security number, they're just going to give it to X. Well, they forget that when they give it to X, it has to be given to Y to enter into computer Z to be reread by probably 3 more people as they verify information and all this other stuff. It's not a simple point-to-point, but in the case of this game, like I said, hacking is about the same risk you got in just about anything. You can get hacked just by going to your local gas station. The game Pokemon Go is also supposed to come with some kind of GPS device. It's probably supposed to work in tandem with the phone to confirm where you are for it. I don't know. Would you guys play this?
I would need to look more into it, but I really haven't touched a Pokemon game since Generation 2.
Yeah.
So.
I don't even think I ever played any of the original Pokemon. I think the first time I played Pokemon was when it was out on the 64, and that was like a couple of hours. Just said, nah.
I collected the first 151, and that's all I needed to do. When they came out with sequels, I stared at it and just said, it's the same game, don't need it. Then they came out with a few more sequels, and it's just like, it's the same game, plus you have to force-feed it vitamins, don't need it. So, I really didn't have a need to get any further into it. From there, we'll move into Marvel Media News. We talk about the Marvel properties that don't end up on the comic book pages. The first story was about a long-standing rumor in regards to Avengers Age of Ultron. You guys remember for a while they were talking about the possibility of the Grey Hulk in the film?
Mm-hmm.
No.
There was a long-standing rumor that in the middle of the movie there would be a scene where the Scarlet Witch messed with the Hulk's mind, and as a result it brought out his rage and he turned gray. It turns out that was a plan. According to Industrial Light and Magic VFX supervisor Christopher Townsend, quote, yeah, what Joss wanted to do was he said, I wanted to have a Hulk that was this Berserker Hulk. Berserker Hulk was this Hulk that hulks out and what we had come up with on set. And then we sort of started talking about it. Well, what are those extremes? And ILM started playing with a deformed body with a deformed face and one eye larger than the other. You know, like crooked teeth and drooling and red eyes and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Then we started playing with color and we started to desaturate him and give him this sort of red around the eyes and made him look like a strung out heroin addict Hulk. That was the idea. Sort of like where he's totally lost it and he's gone totally crazy. And then we gradually tended towards a grayer and grayer version until we effectively got Gray Hulk. Unquote. So that was the beginning of it. And then they started talking about it, and they were worried that people might confuse the Gray Hulk on screen with the Gray Hulk from the comic books.
Mm. Yeah, because that would be my issue.
Yeah, quote, we tried a few shots in the film with that sort of much grayer version, and then we were thinking, will people confuse this with the Gray Hulk from the comics? And is that a good thing or a bad thing? Eventually, I think we backed off a little bit, and backed off of that a little bit and made him greener so that we didn't want to confuse people in creating a new character, per se, in that way. So we ultimately backed off. But we had gone pretty extreme in the looks for him, unquote. I wouldn't have had much trouble with that, but that's because I read the Ultimate Comics, and that Gray Hulk ate people. You know, I already had in my mind that not all Hulks are alike, so if they freaked out and made him gray, that would have been fine by me. I get why they didn't. It just wouldn't have bothered me personally.
Yeah.
Of course, I will never forget the Ultimate Hulk screaming that Hulk want Freddie Prinze Jr. Oh, God, did that have a story.
Did that actually happen?
Yeah. Betty Ross was a PR consultant for the Ultimates. And Bruce Banner had been experimenting on himself, had a moment of weakness, transformed into the Hulk, found out she was on a trip to represent Freddie Prinze Jr. and have him talk about the Ultimates. And then as soon as he transformed, he screamed, Hulk want Freddie Prinze Jr.! Which sounded
as
really
I remember,
bizarre.
Though, she was cheating on him.
She wasn't cheating on him, but they just weren't dating. They hadn't been an item for a while at that point. But of course, the Hulk tends to be Bruce Banner's subconscious given voice.
Right.
You know, and that's okay. At one point, I remember, I think it was Nick Fury goaded the Hulk into attacking aliens because he said the aliens called him gay. You know, and he just screamed, Hulk not gay, Hulk straight, while swinging a battleship by the frackin' nose. You know, something like that. So, that's that. Also, in regards to the Marvel movies, somebody decided to ask Sebastian Stan, the guy who plays Bucky Barnes, a.k.a. the Winter Soldier in Marvel's movies, that with Civil War upcoming, how did he feel about possibly taking over the mantle as Captain America as they did in the comics? He was asked this by We Got This Covered at a red carpet event in regards to The Martian. His response was kind of interesting. Quote, no, I really wouldn't. Let me tell you, I think about that every day. Look, it's so not up to me, to be honest. I would really enjoy my job over there. I'm very happy going to work and doing what I do. I love the character that I have. It's up to a lot of different things, and whatever Marvel decides, I'm game, unquote.
Fair enough.
It's nice to know he's not going with preconceived notions, especially since the comics have made it pretty clear that, you know, Bucky post-Cap is not going to be Cap again. He's still the Winter Soldier. I'm not sure they'd want to pull that trigger in the movies. I'd like to see it, but I don't think they will. However, in follow-up, Stan did say that Civil War will be the most brutal Marvel film yet. Quote, I mean, there is some serious fighting. Some really brutal fighting, like you haven't seen before in any other film, which I'm really proud to say. And a whole lot of character and heart, because there's a lot of people that are in the film, but you're going to get a lot of character from everybody, unquote.
That's, those are some big shoes.
You want big shoes? Let me remind you right now that the release date for Civil War is May 6, 2016.
Shit.
Coming soon. But unfortunately, not everybody on the Civil War set was able to keep a secret. Elizabeth Olsen was talking to a French media outlet called Premiere.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about how people will spoil movies. And while she did so...
And then spoil the movie. Excellent.
Yeah, and she dropped a spoiler during the speech. She said, quote, it's too bad when people want to spoil things about movies or when paparazzi are on set and they're taking pictures of certain things and everyone gets to guess what it is that you're filming and ruins it for everyone. And then she said, I think it's going to be the best movie yet. Daniel Bruhl is an incredible actor, and he's playing the main villain in it, unquote. So it's already official before the movie came out that Daniel Bruhl, the guy who's already been cast as Baron Zemo, is the villain.
And the main villain.
Yep. Elizabeth Olsen, liked you as a Scarlet Witch, but on that little moment, swing and a miss. Now, here's an interesting piece. As you know, there is a Captain Marvel movie on slate. The Carol Danvers character is supposed to be coming out in 2018 as far as we know, right?
Right.
Well, it appears that Marvel is building a short list of people they would like to see where Carol Danvers tights. And so far, one of the names that's been alluded to is a young lady by the name of Rebecca Ferguson. Now, I looked her up. Ferguson has not been in a lot of movies. She's relatively new to acting. The most prominent thing she's done, though, is a recent thing. She played the female lead in the movie Mission Impossible Rogue Nation with Tom Cruise. I have not seen the movie myself, so I don't have a context to be able to tell you much. I looked up her filmography. I have not seen a single thing in it. But here is a picture of what she looks like from one of the posters for Rogue Nation. Not knowing anything other than this, I'm willing to give it a shot, but I'm trying to keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Carol Danvers is a lofty goal to hit. And by that, I mean casting the right actress who has both the acting ability and probably a bit of physicality to go with it. And yeah. I just don't know anything about this young lady. I can say, though, that Rachel McAdams has a big mouth, almost as big as Elizabeth Olsen's. Rachel McAdams didn't say what role she played, but she did confirm that she will be the female lead in next year's Doctor Strange film. Marvel so far has not responded to the comments she laid out to the Wrap, and I doubt they will, frankly. With Kevin Feige worrying about everything that's going on right now, I doubt he's going to take the time to really just fire back at that one. I just wonder who she's going to be playing. There are so many female leads that have passed through the Doctor Strange books. I couldn't even guess which one she's supposed to be. Now, this is news we'll be familiar with. Scott Glenn is going to return for Season 2 of Daredevil.
Right.
Scott Glenn is the guy who played Stick in the first season.
Oh.
Huh.
Stick was Matt Murdock's trainer at a young age in the martial arts. As it turns out, in the first season, he was preparing him to be a soldier in some kind of war that he never really explained. But as we found out about the second third of Season 1 of Daredevil, Stick worked for the Hand. The Hand are the ninjas that often harangue Matt Murdock's life in the comics. A bunch of Japanese, often undead ninjas. Did
they train Elektra?
They corrupted Elektra.
Ah, okay.
I believe Elektra was originally trained by some emissaries of her father. Her father originally was a gang leader. Or an organized crime figure.
Right,
Trained her to be a bodyguard. Didn't go terribly well. Then after a couple battles, the Hand grabbed her, brainwashed her, and then continued the work. So if Stick's returning, he may have something to do with why Elektra is coming. Maybe she's part of the war they were talking about. Now, I have another trailer, and after watching this, holy crap, did I get excited. I mean, like, physically pitched a tent excited. Marvel's released the first trailer to Jessica Jones.
Ooh.
And that trailer came with a premiere date. I sent the video. Netflix and Marvel. I noticed that the video is in very creepy purple and blue hues all throughout. And it gives a little hints to Jones' history as a private detective.
Through the lens of a camera.
Mm-hmm.
And a shot glass.
Looks more like a tumbler. I think that's full whiskey.
Alias Investigations.
Yeah. That's an homage to her first book. And then all that purple and blue, you know who that's supposed to be.
Yep.
If you listen carefully through the video, you can hear David Tennant creepily calling her name.
I can say I'm very impressed with the soundtrack of that.
Yeah, and it with that video came a release date. November 20th is when this comes out. So, looking way forward to this. It's got a loft. That's another show that has a high bar to me, but it looks like they're on the right track. Going further into the Netflix show, though, another character has been cast for the Luke Cage series. Character actor Frank Whaley has been cast in a recurring role. He's going to play Detective Raphael Scarf. He's supposed to be a hard-nosed detective. In the comic books, he was a one-time partner of Misty Knight when she was on the NYPD. So it looks like they're really working on rounding out that cast. They must be starting filming soon. Moving over to Marvel's TV arm. Holy crap. I got to see this lady a few days ago. We got our first look at Chloe Bennett in costume as Daisy Johnson. So she's not supposed to be Skye anymore in this series, as they keep insisting. She is now Daisy. Take a look at this, man. She looks almost exactly like I would picture something straight off the comic book page. It's a nice costume. I noticed they enhanced the look of the gauntlets for this season.
Probably could pull double duty as guards.
That's generally the idea.
It could just be I think they were pretty much prototype last time, so these are kind of finished.
Well, they serve a pretty serious function. Quake's powers, regardless of comics or TV, have always been destructive to her and hard to control. The gauntlets are necessary to focus them. But I did see her while I was at Long Beach Comic Con. Somebody complimented her haircut, and she said she hated it. She definitely misses her hair. But believe it or not, I got to heckle her.
What did you say?
The press event for Chloe Bennett at Long Beach Comic Con, part of it was a bunch of Girl Scouts did some extra work, and they were getting a special badge during the event. And Chloe was one handing them out directly to the girls, which is awesome. She was high-fiving them. She was being really friendly and bubbly with everybody. And then halfway through, she was handing out badges, and she said, this is awesome, but I never got a badge of my own. And there I am at the front of the photographers. I thought S.H.I.E.L.D. gave you a badge. And she looks at the photographer directly to my left and said, "Oh, that's right." So, yeah, I got to make an ass of myself with a celebrity for a few seconds, and somebody else got the credit. As far as Fox's work with Marvel properties, it's been announced today that the director of the Gambit film, Rupert Wyatt, he is exiting the movie. He's blaming his exit on a scheduling conflict because the filming of the movie was pushed back to March of 2016. In a statement he gave to Deadline, quote, "I was very much looking forward to working with my friend Channing and the team at Fox, but regrettably, a push in the start date now conflicts with another project. I thank them for the opportunity, and I know that Gambit will make a terrific film," unquote. The film
is Fox meddling again with another movie?
There is that possibility. It almost sounds a bit like Edgar Wright leaving Ant-Man in certain respects, but I'll reserve judgment till we find out whether or not the movie's good or bad. It's still scheduled for a release date of October 7th, 2016. If they're going to make this, they need to hurry up, because Gambit will be CG heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Or not CG, effect heavy. That will be really effect heavy. But Fox has made another announcement. They are working on a sequel to Deadpool.
Of course.
Apparently, they're impressed with the hype in the early reviews at test screenings, and they've decided that they want to move forward with a sequel. And they're also working on the sequel to Fantastic Four.
Why?
Therein is a $24,000 question. Simon Kinberg, he's the producer of both films for 20th Century Fox. In regards to Deadpool, he said, quote, "We are certainly talking about the sequel. We were just talking about the sequel while we were making the movie, just because when you make a film that's this form of a serialized source material, you hope it's the first of many. But yeah, Fox is feeling good about it. We're all feeling pretty proud of it. So hopefully before it comes out, we'll be well into the process of figuring out a sequel." And he also commented on the fact that Tim Miller said that he would like Cable for a sequel, and he said, quote, "It's certainly come up because he's such a big character in the world. And it's a character that I've always wanted to do in one form or another. We talked about Cable, actually, in X-Men Days of Futures Past at one point. But yeah, we're in such early stages of sequel talk, it would be genuinely premature for me to say whether or not he was going to be in it," unquote. Then
I like the idea.
Well, wait, because then he started talking about the Fantastic Four sequel. Quote, "We're figuring out what that movie would be. I'd like it to happen. I was obviously disappointed with how the movie did. I was most disappointed that fans didn't like it. I care more about them than I do anyone else. But I haven't done a full deep dive on it. Do I think it was unfairly treated? I don't know," unquote. Does he think it was unfairly treated? Has he watched it? Because just the promos seemed horrendous. I am not convinced that this needs to be seen by any frackin' one, you know?
I don't know. I have yet to subject myself to that.
Ugh. All right, we'll move into DC media news, talking about the DC properties that will end up on your TV screen, movie screen, video games, and action figures even. And first up is actually, we're going to talk about Alfred Pennyworth for a couple minutes. Because Jeremy Irons is the guy who's been signed to play the character as far as Batman v Superman is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that his role is going to be markedly different from previous versions. Quote, "Zack Snyder, the director, wanted to create a completely different Alfred, so I felt I didn't have to carry any baggage from previous ones. It's sort of a reincarnation, if you like. I had a feeling I was creating my own Alfred, more of a man who can actually do anything if he has to." Unquote. I'm not quite sure what that means. Does that mean Alfred is, he's going to be a line dancer? Is he going to be an alcoholic? Is he a heroin addict? Is he Caitlyn Jenner? What is he? Because that is just way too open-ended. I'd like a little more of an explanation as to what he's bringing to the role specifically. Now, speaking of
I don't know. I think it'll be interesting if they give him more of a active role.
Last time Alfred had an active role that I can think of was a 1966 Batman series where his disguise was simply putting on a mask underneath his glasses and driving Robin around the Batmobile because he was too young to drive.
I had completely forgotten about that.
That wasn't active enough. I think he occasionally used the ejector seat.
That was too active, yeah.
All right, well, moving on, we have a little bit of DC TV. We have the first image of what Hawkman and Hawkgirl is going to look like in Legends of Tomorrow for DC on the CW. Okay. And, honestly, not bad. It's much better than I could have hoped for. They decided to stay away from the greens and yellows and decided to focus on more coppery colors, it seems. I don't know. Hawkwoman looks a little more fierce than Hawkman does, in my opinion. Or is it Hawkgirl? I think it's Hawkgirl in the series. I could say that Hawkman's mace could stand to be a little larger and more fierce.
Yeah, a little bit bigger anyway.
Yeah.
But didn't he use an axe?
No, I think... Well, I'm more familiar with the mace.
In the New 52, he uses an axe and a mace. But the mace has been the stalwart weapon of Hawkman since he was created.
All right.
So, yeah, I'd like to see that mace bigger. That would be my only complaint. But for all I know, that could be a placeholder prop.
Could be.
It could be that they're going to add a little bit of effects to make it look larger while he's swinging around the screen.
I mean, honestly, I think it's proportionally sized for an actual human.
I agree with that. However, we're supposed to be going superhuman. If this is part of this whole gritty and real routine, you can stop that right the frack now.
But I don't know. I do like the costumes though. Color palette's nice.
Now, let's just hope it's going to stand out because you got to remember this character's got to stand next to the Flash and the Arrow and Captain Cold and Heatwave and the Atom and White Canary and still manage to stand out.
Well, if they CG in some wings, that shouldn't be too difficult.
Or else you're going to lose them in the foliage.
Foliage?
Greenery, whatever.
Oh, foliage.
Yes.
Foliage is the stuff you use to wrap up chicken when you're done eating. Let me see. Andrew Kinsberg, he's the executive producer on The Flash. Somebody decided to play a word game with him about the status of the characters going into season 2 of the series. And he decided to use some interesting phrases for several of them. When he said, now, the interviewer from Entertainment Weekly asked questions in the forms of just character names, and he was just supposed to give very simple answers, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it came to Barry Allen, his answer was New Love. Iris West, Face from the Past. Caitlin Snow, Brrr. Duh. Cisco Ramon, Metahuman. Harrison Wells, Alive? Joe West, Stalwart. Ronnie Raymond, Bravery. Henry Allen, Heart. Jay Garrick, Broken. And Patty Spivot, Delightful.
Damn.
I wonder what Jay Garrick... When he says broken in regards to Jay Garrick, I have a feeling he doesn't mean the character so much as maybe the doorways to the multiverse. No.
It's possible.
It's only a guess. But there is an extended trailer about 1:16 long when it comes to the next season of The Flash, which I believe starts up... I think it starts up early next month, doesn't it? Oh, yeah, October 6th. Comes out the same day as Transformers Devastation. Wow, it has that for stupid nerd knowledge. I sent the video.
Why did you want to kill me?
Because you're annoying.
He promised he'd take me home.
Because you were shoving your way through the crowd, dick.
So that would be Atom Smasher. Oh, Zoom, okay.
Zoom sent me here to kill the Flash.
He is an
Was that Garrick, or was that...
and your
No.
world is in danger.
What other worlds are there?
A lot?
When you created the singularity above Central City, you created a breach, a portal. If you got through, there'll be more to follow.
Hi, I'm Patty Spivot.
You do realize that.
So Patty Spivot's supposed to be the new love interest for Barry Allen.
But I want to stop them.
Oh, man, this match is huge.
Should see my Nerf collection.
Yeah, that's his power is growth
Huge
in proportion to his
Wow.
strength.
So do I.
Looks like he's going to be dealing with cold again.
You're gonna have to catch me.
Showtime.
I can't believe there's a flash symbol. Or a
Yeah.
flash signal. The flash signal! That sounds like a horrible idea.
Yeah.
About the time you're able to call for help, he's already there. I don't know. I enjoyed the first season of this show. I'm always worried about a show like this because it could devolve into really cheesy very quickly.
I don't know. Given their naming sense, I'm just kind of glad they didn't name him the Flasher or something.
Oh, you suck, man. Could you imagine? Could you imagine what would happen if he was gearing up? I'm going to use the flash bomb. Oh, please keep your pants up. Here's my flasherang. Oh God, he's going to show his pants. He's going to pull his pants down. Oh my God, stop! The flasherang. Now that I say that out loud, that really does sound sexual. Let's see. The executive producer on The Flash also talked about Wally West becoming Kid Flash. Said, quote, I would liken Wally coming into the way we brought Colton Haynes onto Arrow. Just like with Colton Haynes, who eventually one day put on the Arsenal costume, I wouldn't be surprised if one day Wally West becomes Kid Flash. Part of the season is watching Barry mature and grow up, not just as a Flash, but as Barry Allen. Suddenly introducing him to a bit of a wayward kid who has some attitude problems and some authority issues is quick with a sassy remark, all of which is very Wally West. And then watching Wally integrate into Star Labs' universe. But also just the world of these characters is going to be a lot of fun on the back half of the year, unquote. So it sounds like Wally West comes in during the second half of the season. He did also talk a little bit about the details of how Jay Garrick's going to relate to Barry Allen in the series. Quote, there's a little condescension from Jay. Jay is a bit more world-weary and he's seen a lot. He's been the Flash for a while, so he's a little further along in his career. He's seen a lot of darkness, and it's jaded him a bit. He thinks Barry can be a bit naive about the way the world works. One of Barry's greatest gifts, and is truly one of Grant's greatest gifts too, is that he's got such an infectious energy and such a purity of heart that makes you want to be a better person. And as much as Barry learns from Jay about being the Flash, Jay learns just as much about being a good person from Barry, unquote. There you go. They still haven't shown any details about what Zoom is going to look like in this series. They've kept that well under wraps for the last few months, I'd say. They keep describing Zoom as a demon, whereas the Reverse Flash was more of a warrior. I'm suitably curious. I really hope that they keep some level of good storytelling there.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's not all roses when it comes to the CW TV shows. One of their actors has been arrested.
Which one?
Manu Bennett.
And who did she play?
Manu Bennett is a he. He's the one who was on the Arrow under the role of Wade Wilson. Not Wade Wilson. Sorry, Slade Wilson.
I was going to say, wait, what?
He played Slade Wilson. He was the one who played Deathstroke for a few seasons of the Arrow.
Okay.
He was at the San Antonio Comic-Con, of all places. And, he was at the Alamo City Comic-Con, of all places. He was at the Host Hotel, which is the Grand Hyatt Hotel. And there was an incident that supposedly took place just after 4:30 in the morning local time. According to the public statement from the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, he was arrested after an altercation while attending the convention. It's not extremely clear what happened, but it sounds like he got into a physical altercation with someone at 4:30 in the morning, which is generally not a time you're supposed to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, if you're up at 4:30, that implies you're usually either drunk, high, or just plain had enough Red Bulls that you could launch yourself into orbit. And I'm going to guess the latter is not what happened here. There is an indication, though, that the Wonder Woman film might focus on her career during World War I. According to Humberto Gonzalez over at Heroic Hollywood, who has a fairly good grasp when it comes to rumors, quote, "The latest rumor I'm hearing is that the first half of Wonder Woman's standalone film will actually take place during World War I. Again, World War I, not II. The second half of the film takes place during the modern day," unquote. It's also not the first time that we've heard that the Wonder Woman film would potentially be a period piece. Last fall, Bleeding Cool did a story saying the Wonder Woman standalone film would take place during the 1920s, with sequels taking place during World War II and then the modern day.
I think that's taking a little too long.
It'd just be nice to see a comprehensive movie is all. You know, the first appearance of the character is going to be during Batman v Superman, which really doesn't seem like the right place to reveal that iconic of a character.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of an afterthought.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of afterthought, Zack Snyder, the guy who directed Batman v Superman?
Yeah?
He might be getting on my shit list.
Oh, what did he do to you?
He didn't do anything to me. Now, recently, Steven Spielberg said that superhero movies are kind of the fad of the week right now. He thinks they're headed for an inevitable crash, which is possible of just about any movement in pop culture. Okay, I completely grant you that. Snyder decided to talk about how he figures that characters like Batman and Superman transcend the superhero genre. Quote, "It goes to the mythological nature of the movies that we're making. I feel like he's right, but I feel like Batman and Superman are transcendent of superhero movies in a way. Because they're Batman and Superman. They're not just like the flavor of the week Ant-Man. Not to be mean, but whatever it is, what is the next blank man?" Unquote.
Superman and Batman. It's your movie coming out.
You know, I mean, if he wants to pick sides on which characters he prefers, more than welcome to. But to just kind of insult the people on the other side of the aisle, fuck you, man. That's really unwarranted. But that's okay. There was another story that came out just today that kind of shows me where Warner Brothers is at when it comes to the DC movies. Let me see. Diane Nelson spoke recently about how Warner Brothers' approach to TV and film compares with their rivals. And she said that their approach makes them more talent-driven. Quote, "Interconnected movies could end up handcuffing our creators into trying to work with the same storyline or force them to hold back characters or introducing certain characters. Ultimately, it hinders the ability for someone like showrunner Bruno Heller to come in and create Gotham." Unquote. Now, That's an interesting approach, but I would argue that Bruno Heller is exactly the person you should handcuff and stop him from making that kind of bullshit. The show is awful. She also says that they aren't looking to, or that she also says that DC isn't looking to weave its various TV and film properties together as tightly as others. Quote, we've broken down a lot of the walls in the various businesses. We've had interaction across every business at Warner Brothers, unquote. Why? Half of DC Comics is all about the bigger character interactions between characters, whether they be A-listers, B-listers, C-listers, or, utterly useless characters like Buona Beast. Quote, we do believe we're in a period where comics and superheroes are really the driving force within pop culture. We have to be really sensitive to making sure we're not creating any stories that don't feel like they're ready to be told. We have to make sure we're getting the right story and the right content from the talent we work with. Ultimately, we think it's a great story, if it's a great story, people will go out to see it, unquote. We have to make sure we're getting the right story and the right content from the talent we work with. That sounds almost exactly like what Marvel did with their creators. They wanted their story from their picked talents.
Yeah, and they took a chance with some obscure titles and shit, look what we got.
Yeah, I know. I was talking with somebody about that during, just before Long Beach. And I talked about what a risk it was to have a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy, which was really unknown outside comic books. And the guy said, it wasn't really that big of a risk. Really? Not that big of a risk? Their main character is called Star-Lord. Okay? That doesn't exactly sound like a winner. And then you have a talking raccoon, a talking tree, green guy who's not the same as the Hulk, green woman who's not the same as She-Hulk. Nobody knew these people outside the few individuals actually reading Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Guardians of the Galaxy was not a super huge comic.
No, I'd argue
it isn't
Guardians...
like one of those names that everybody knows.
No, Guardians was probably a bigger risk than Ant-Man, for freak's sake.
Yeah, because Ant-Man was an Avenger.
Yeah, and I will totally grant that probably half the reason they took that risk is because they didn't have access to some of their bigger properties when they started work. X-Men, Fantastic Four, well, maybe not bigger, I should say more well-known properties. Still don't have access to Namor the Submariner. And now they're
Fox
dealing
has
with
that one?
Universal, really.
Really?
Universal still has the rights, and they still have the film rights to the Hulk, but they haven't done any new partnership deals.
Huh.
So... I mean, part of Marvel's ingenuity probably has to come with the fact that they can't deal with certain characters, so they're trying to find what else in their library could create good stories. And what have they done? I mean, frack, I'm actually interested in Daredevil because of that series. I've never been interested in Daredevil. But at least they're taking a shot in the right ways. I mean, geez, Gotham, you could end that show right now, and I don't think you would really have that big of a loss. When it comes to general media news, the properties that don't end up in Marvel and DC's little camps, the first story of this week was really surprising to me. For probably the second time in history, Godzilla's going to fight King Kong.
Okay.
According to Deadline, Legendary Pictures is moving forward with a Kong Skull Island from Universal Pictures. It's going to be the sequel to the first King Kong reboot they had. Then there's going to be a Godzilla sequel on March... Let me see. The plan is for Kong to come out on March 10th, 2017. That would be Kong Skull Island. Then the previously announced Godzilla sequel will come out in June 8th, 2018. Then there will be a third film happening that puts Giant Lizard versus Giant Ape. The two are going to fight it out on the big screen.
Huh.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think about... I haven't actually seen the recent Godzilla movie, but... Godzilla in that movie was freaking gigantic, and Kong, unless they make him just as big, I don't know.
Well, Kong is not small either.
Yeah, but last time I saw his depiction in size is about 3 stories tall.
I couldn't say because I didn't actually watch the film. I got about halfway through Peter Jackson's little weirdness, and I got bored.
Well, I know he fought 3 T-Rexes, and the T-Rexes are roughly about 3 stories tall.
I don't know. I haven't met any. I mean, the only T-Rexes I've seen are all CG. Which one did you meet?
I look at books.
I was hoping you were going to say. I was hoping you were going to say Khloe Kardashian. I mean, she's a meat eater, obviously. There's a new trailer out for the new Jungle Book film by Disney.
Really?
Yeah, this one's been directed by Jon Favreau. It's an adaptation of the 1967 animated film by Disney, which was based on a Rudyard Kipling book. The trailer is out by Fandango. It's under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We curious?
A little bit.
All right. Well, I sent the video. So this is the one that had Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray in it, too.
Apparently.
Well, we talked about this. It was surprising how many stars are attached to this particular property.
Are you alone out here?
Look, the Jungle Cruise.
What are you doing so deep in the
Dagobah.
Tarzan
Don't
0.5.
you know what you are?
The Lion King.
I know what you are.
Wait, from the studio that brought you Pirates of the Caribbean, which one? You have to let me know which one, because depending on which one you answer with, I'm out. Monkeys!
Poor, sweet little cow.
Oh, King Louis.
I'll keep you close.
Oh, so Scarlett Johansson's supposed to be Ka, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fear now.
Ooh!
I'm guessing Bill Murray's Baloo.
And trust
I don't know.
in me.
You know, unfortunately for me, though, I don't care what Scarlett Johansson looks like. I'd follow her. That voice is enough for me.
Ben Kingsley should be Shere Khan. I'm thinking Christopher Walken would be like King Louis. I'm interested, actually.
Christopher Walken as King Louis sounds kind of scary, you know. Ooh, ooh, I want to be like you, ooh. I want to walk like you, talk like you.
Hoping that they don't do all the musicals.
That might be part of the entertainment, frankly. And Jon Favreau is kind of twisted, so he could very well. Now, Star Wars Episode 8 and Rian Johnson, who's directing it, they're headed to Skellig, Michael, in Ireland to be in production on the movie. It's the same site that was used for Star Wars The Force Awakens, Episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
And that site has seen more than a few people slip and fall to their deaths.
Ooh.
That nearly included Mark Hamill.
Damn.
According to a statement, there was a keen-eyed guide who saw the actor slipped and caught him. According to eyewitnesses, if that guide had not done it, Hamill would have been a goner. So I think it's official. That guide was possessed by the Force ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's also, thanks to TMZ, the first image to come out from the set of Star Wars Rogue One. And the first image appears to be the crash of a starship of some sort. I take it you guys want to see.
Okay.
I sent the image. Other than a few engines missing, it almost looks like a Corvette, but that's something else. Then again, this is supposed to be Rogue One. This would be set in the past. Wait, it was all in a galaxy far, far away a long, long time ago. It's all in the fucking past. What the hell am I talking about?
I don't know. That almost looks to me like just a regular fighter, not a...
Looks to me to be like a small cruiser.
Like, yeah. The way the engine configuration is.
I'm not quite sure what it is. But watch, this is a point where everybody on the internet stops yelling, "No, that's a Z95 Headhunter!" You know it's inevitable. Although Steve is going to start playing Risk again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a new Star Wars edition Risk that's coming out.
Ooh.
Complete with pieces in the shapes of TIE fighters, Y-Wings, X-Wings, all this interesting stuff. It's available right now for $30. It's an upgraded version of Risk that has players competing on a TIE Fighter-shaped board. Darth Vader's TIE Fighter-shaped board, actually. The TIE Interceptor. You can choose an allegiance to either the light or dark side of the Force, and then recreate the final moments of Return of the Jedi through 3 different battles, including the attack on the Death Star, the shield attack on Endor, and the duel between Luke and Darth Vader. You want to see what the box looks like?
Sure.
Shoot.
You think this will make it on that list of board games that could be really expensive as collector's items one day?
It's quite possible.
I saw this.
Okay.
Still trying to discern how this. I'm trying to discern how the zones fit together, but I have a feeling that would really require an instruction booklet to fully explain.
Yeah, they are showing us at. I think I saw this at Comic-Con.
I admit, board games are not my personal thing. But this does look wonderfully complicated. Speaking of Star Wars, Figuarts have come out with more 6-inch figures and more stuff that will drain the wallets of Lucas fans. And this has to do entirely with Star Wars The Force Awakens. There are new figures out by Figuarts of Kylo Ren and a base model Stormtrooper, and they both look wonderfully articulated. As a matter of fact, it looks like the jacket of Kylo Ren is some kind of vinyl to give it some give. Well, jacket may be the wrong word. Robes. Doesn't look like his lightsaber lights up, but it's wonderfully articulated.
Yeah, but the material it's made out of, you could definitely get light through it.
Yeah. The Stormtrooper, though, is very impressive. It's one of those things.
I don't
if
know,
you took
is that first picture? It looks like it's lighting up.
No, that's
a. It looks like a lamp from a photo.
Hmm.
It looks like they set up a color lamp because you see how broad that light is.
Yeah,
it's not very focused. The Stormtrooper, though, if you took the right photos, you could easily mistake that for a full-blown costume. They did some really nice work on that. I doubt it would stand in that running position like in the last picture, though. I think you would need a stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that does specialty designs on coffee tables. His name is Tom Spina. He's designed a coffee table that I know people would frickin' kill for. He created a coffee table in the form of the Millennium Falcon as it flies through the asteroid field. You laugh, but I don't know a single person who's even moderately interested in Star Wars that would turn this down if it was possible for them to put them in their living room.
Ah, yes.
That is really articulated. Not articulated. It's really detailed. And if you look at the back view, that's not the only ship flying between those asteroids. There's one right behind it. Yeah, take a look. That's the back side of the table.
Huh.
Someone conceived this thing and then hired Tom Spina Designs to make it. It is going to be a one-of-a-kind coffee table.
Yeah.
And that TIE fighter behind it is an actual Hasbro TIE fighter that was painted and then put as part of the table.
Interesting.
Somebody's got some money. Speaking of action figures, have you guys seen the new Metal Gear Solid action figure?
Mm-mm.
No.
Dude, this thing is going to be about $65. It is going to be the thing that most Metal Gear fans are probably going to stab each other in the eye for, which will improve their cosplay, but not helpful. It's a Figma. No, it's not a Figma. It's made by a Japanese company called Union Creative. I'm not familiar with them offhand, but as you can see from the pictures, it has a lot of different options as to what you can do with it.
Yeah, not to mention all the different
accessories
loadouts and whatnot, accessories. Yeah.
Yeah. And it looks like even the cyborg hand may be fully articulated.
Eye pose.
Yeah. Oh no, the hand. Okay, the cyborg hand is not articulated. That's one of the hands it comes with. According to the picture, it comes with, it looks like 6 alternative hands, 1 alternative silver gauntlet for some reason, sniper rifle, machine gun, a pistol, a knife, a couple of different add-ons for each of those guns too, and a box. It comes with a box. So you can slide downhill with it.
Yep, it's in one of the pictures. Last picture.
Yep. Let's see. Steven Spielberg has found an actress for the movie adaptation of Ready Player One. Olivia Cooke is going to play the character of Artemis. It's going to be one of the leading characters from the novel. Cooke is in negotiations for the role. She's been seen before in Bates Motel as Emma Ducote and Rachel in Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. You guys familiar with Ready Player One?
No.
The book takes place in a virtual future world known as the Oasis. Following the death of the world's creator, the entire world embarks on a massive Easter egg hunt to lay claim to his legacy and fortune. The book is called Ready Player One, but it almost sounds like a novelized version of One Piece.
Yeah, in a way.
Well, what is this? Oh, no, I'll skip that. Sorry. And there is a Preacher poster that was released. Seth Rogen tweeted out an image from the poster from his new series adaptation of the comic book Preacher. But he had to take it down rather quickly. Because when he put it back up on Twitter, it was missing several words. Interestingly, the words that were missing was May 2016.
Oh.
Whoops.
Rogen tweeted the image along with the release date. He deleted the tweet, then re-uploaded the poster without the release date. Rogen then clarified that the show may or may not air in May. But it will be out next year. That he is sure of. Still looking forward to that series. We'll go into Marvel comic news. We'll talk about the Marvel properties that will end up in the issues in the near future, usually within months. And first up, there is a gallery on Newsarama. It takes a look at what's called Marvel Point 1. It's going to be a preview of the 8-month jump post-Secret Wars. And I flipped through this. It has got some interesting imagery in it. There's one image here I'm having a little trouble trying to figure out what's going on. I see two characters. It looks like climbing up a mountain. Then walking around from the side of the mountain is a Celestial. That's never a good sign. For those who don't know, Celestials are kind of cosmic beings who do experiments in evolution. Then when things aren't going well, they destroy the planet and move on to the next one. They've come to Earth several times. Apparently we're doing shit they don't like here. I see a preview image from Contest of Champions, including the Maestro, Classic Venom, and Medusa, and it looks like the whole thing's being presided over by the Collector. Doesn't that go to figure?
Sure it's Venom and not Carnage?
Yes, I'm very sure that's Venom. Venom has teeth and that black and white symbol on him. Carnage has never been black.
Oh, okay. Some to the subsequent pictures.
No. Let's
that's
see.
The Wasp?
No, that's Crystal from the Inhumans. This is Uncanny Inhumans.
Oh, right.
It looks like she's checking out a new Inhuman exposure. And then there's Carnage. It looks like threatening somebody from an issue of his own new series coming. There's Daredevil in his new black costume.
Mm-hmm. And kicking ass.
Technically, it's not new. He wore that costume or a more scary version of it in Shadowland. Then it looks like a preview from an upcoming S.H.I.E.L.D. issue. Is that supposed to be... I think it's supposed to be Agent Simmons down there.
Yeah.
With some kind of mark on
Mark 1 Iron Man armor. No, Mark 2.
No way. Yeah, that's Mark 2 or 3. The Mark 1 Iron Man armor was that gigantic silver ugly thing.
Yeah, that's that. I corrected myself.
Let's see, Rocket Raccoon and Groot, and then it cycles around again. I've heard a lot of people complaining online about the shakeup that Marvel Comics is doing, and frack. I understand it's the internet and some people are never happy, but I mean, it's that catch-22. Look, Marvel's changing everything. It sucks. Okay, we'll change it back. Why are you changing it back? It sucks. But frick, you gotta try something, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, it's the same kind of a deal that DC's having to go through.
DC's is a little more extreme, though, because it seems to be their executives are the ones that are complaining. Stop changing shit. It sucks.
I almost didn't even see Ant-Man in the in that Avengers picture.
I'm sure every group of Avengers has said that sooner or later. But Marvel has an interesting initiative. They're doing a campaign to promote the second issues of All New, All Different Marvel. The reason for that is because just about every comic book has the same thing happen. They come out with a new number one, sales skyrocket, and then with the second issue, a lot of the casual collectors drop off because they got the number ones, and then you're left with something closer to your actual readership, right?
Right.
Well, Marvel is doing a campaign to promote the second issues in their new lineup. They're trying to limit that drop-off. Apparently, most of the new number ones are going to end with a cliffhanger, and then they're going to start promoting the second issue in that line to try and continue the readership.
Huh.
It's not a bad idea. It's different. It's hard to gauge how successful that'll be because, as I said, a lot of people buy brand new number ones as potential collector issues. That's one of those things that was started in the 90s, and it's never really gone well.
Yeah.
Key issues have to do more with character reveals and changes than it has to do with number ones on any series. But speaking of shakeups, as of Invincible Iron Man number 4 in All New, All Different Marvel, as we discussed, Tony Stark is on his own. He's developed a brand new armor that has the abilities of all of his prior armors wrapped up into one package. He's trying to consolidate, right?
Mm-hmm.
He apparently does not have Stark Industries anymore, and he's on his own. But as of issue 4, he's hiring help.
Okay.
And this one is scratching a lot of people's head because he's hired a redhead.
Oh, I know.
Then it's not Pepper Potts.
No. It's Mary Jane Watson.
Oh.
Yep.
The thing that's that on its own is curious. But as we said, Marvel's going through a shakeup just so they can tell a new group of stories, which is their business. The thing that's kind of gotten people curious, though, is remember we discussed One More Day? Where Spider-Man's marriage was cosmically undone across their lineup.
Right.
It was said in the interview that Tony Stark knew Mary Jane Watson from the time she lived in Avengers Tower. If One More Day occurred and they were never married, why was she ever living in Avengers Tower?
Don't know.
So there's a lot of questions that really need to be answered here. There's another released image from the all-new Sam Wilson Captain America #1 coming out, I believe, this October. The fact that series is continuing is not really news. It appears that sales for the Falcon as Captain America were pretty robust, and they're going to continue that. What does make this news is that in his very first issue, he has to deal with a big bad. Although he has Misty... no, he has Misty Knight helping him in a costume that for some reason has a bare midriff, which I don't understand why you do that for Misty Knight at all. That's a different conversation. No, the problem is, as Misty Knight was beating up Hydra agents, the Falcon, or Captain America, I should say, was flying above them. He was suddenly shot in the shoulder. When he hit the ground and recovered, he realized who shot him in the shoulder. One of Steve Rogers' oldest friends, Crossbones, decided to bring him down.
Oh.
So the new Captain America, for the first time, is going to fight Crossbones, the guy who killed Captain America. This ought to be fun. Although in the preview pages, it does detail something else that requires some explanation. It looks like as part of his training, Sam Wilson is fighting Misty Knight, and it doesn't go well, but you're not going to believe who apparently is part of his support crew. Who? It's the D-Man. That's not a euphemism for any... No, D-Man. Formerly known as the Demolition Man. Remember the part-time wrestler who was an Avenger for like 5 minutes before they found out he was on drugs and out of his mind?
No.
He looks kind of like some freakish cross between Daredevil's original costume, Wolverine's brown costume, and then he has this giant D on his chest. For some reason, Sam Wilson has hired the D-Man to help him. Which is ironic, because D is exactly where he falls in the rankings. So it's very bizarre. There was also a preview release for the first few pages of The Amazing Spider-Man. The all-new Amazing Spider-Man, the one where Peter Parker is owning Stark Industries.
Mm-hmm.
The weird part is not necessarily that he's, doing this stuff, which is kind of par for the course right now. Or I should say, what the interesting part is not the fact that in the first few issues he's testing out the spider buggy, which, anybody who's been following comic books for more than 5 fucking minutes knew was coming in this series, right?
Right.
The interesting part is who he was doing it with, because this creates a whole new list of questions. I'm going to send you guys the image from what I presume is the first big splash page of the series. You'll see Spider-Man in this spider buggy that looks like something straight out of Tron, frankly, Tron Legacy. And apparently has
Mockingbird?
Yeah, that's who that is. The Mockingbird, in a brand new costume I've never seen before, was helping him test out the spider buggy.
I'm guessing he's doing something for
talking
S.H.I.E.L.D.?
to Fury.
Yeah.
No, Mockingbird doesn't work for anybody. She opened her own agency. My guess, personally, I think he hired a security consultant. If you think about it, there's not many people who would know more about breaking into places than the Mockingbird. Former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, runs several spy agencies. Usually plays an independent for hire these days because trusting people is just not in her nature anymore.
Still doesn't explain why Nick Fury's on the windshield.
Might
That's
be
the new
complaining
Nick Fury.
about all of the...
All the shit coming off that buggy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm looking at that going, what the fuck?
I'm going to guess he's pulling a favor because the second issue has to do with a bunch of guys driving underneath the freeway. It looks like they're armed to the teeth. So Spider-Man takes that thing from on top of the overpass to driving on the underside of the overpass.
Okay, alright. I'm looking at this thing, at the buggy. I think the damn thing would transform with
I told you
legs.
those arms spread out. They turn into 8 legs so he can stop it or do more fine controlling of it. But it also drives on walls and upside down just like it used to when it was made in the 1970s. I shit you not.
Yeah, okay. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck is all coming off of this thing.
Spider fart?
Looks like it just came through a fire.
Well, we also got a few preview pages of Extraordinary X-Men, and a lot of people have been trying to understand why is it that the X-Men always seem to have the short shrift? And of course, the conspiracy theorists will tell you it's because of Fox. Fuck that, okay? If that was the reason why, then the X-Men wouldn't be getting like 2 new series minimum in this reboot. And believe me, they are getting 2 new series. Let alone we have an all-new Wolverine, for fuck's sake. So that's a whole different can of fish. But the preview pages to Extraordinary X-Men did answer the question, why are mutants more endangered and hunted than ever? It turns out it's because of a combination of things. One, Cyclops went on some kind of tirade. And if you've been following the comics, you'll know that Cyclops, just before Secret War started, went off completely on his own. So whatever mutant revolution he's doing it by himself now. No White Queen, no magic, no students, nothing. What that is, I don't expect to find out about immediately. I'm sure that will be revealed in subsequent stories. But here's the thing that's what makes mutants hated, right? So what makes them more endangered? Here's the plot twist. Remember the city of the Inhumans, Attilan, was destroyed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of that destruction happened when Black Bolt activated a last-ditch device called the Terrigen Bomb.
Right.
The Terrigen Bomb released a mist that has been slowly encircling the Earth. And I don't mean like covering it. I mean, it's just this cloud that passes over certain areas and it follows the winds, right?
Right.
Seems to be self-sustaining, never seems to be burning out, creating Inhumans. That cloud sterilizes mutants.
Ooh.
Oh, fuck.
Potentially, it could also... It looks like some mutant biology also does not react well to this mist, and it may be seriously harming them. So, it looks like the mission of the Extraordinary X-Men is to find mutants and take them to a safe haven where that cloud cannot reach. I'm curious to know more about this simply because if that's all it takes is a little bit of weather control, Storm should be able to do that by herself. I have a feeling there's some other mitigating factors I'm not aware of yet. But you know what? I would say that's a threat necessary for X-Men. I mean, goodness knows the Avengers are not going to do anything about it. And the Inhumans don't give a shit. They got their own problems. Yeah. But again, this team is going to be comprised of Storm in the lead, and backing her up is going. It's like an all-star of X-Men, for fuck's sake. Iceman, Colossus, Magic, Nightcrawler, Old Man Logan, and young Jean Grey. You know, I read that team, and the first thing that comes to mind is Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. But how's this for an interesting story? A joke character from Marvel Comics is getting their own special this Christmas.
Squirrel Girl?
No, I mean an utter joke character. Do you remember the Gwen variants that came out a while ago?
Spider-Gwen and all the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Spider-Gwen was an actual character creation. Because of the popularity of Spider-Gwen, they came out with a series of variant issues about 3-4 months ago of Gwen Stacy as several different characters. You know, the Incredible Gwen, the Mighty Gwen, you know, stuff like that, right?
Oh, okay. No, I didn't realize that.
Okay, well, one of those covers got people cosplaying, and the cosplaying got Marvel Comics talking, and they decided they're going to produce a special Christmas story just around this particular character. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have the comic book debut of Gwenpool.
Oh, God.
I shit you not. The character is going to go to a Christmas party hosted by the She-Hulk and Kate Bishop, and is going to get stuck in the middle of a lot of fights. And apparently, Gwenpool is not the only character that'll be there. Apparently, Wade Wilson will also be dropping by. Gwenpool started out as a variant cover for the miniseries Deadpool's Secret Wars by Chris Bachalo. She's going to come out in Gwenpool Special number 1. You know what? You may groan, Jesse, but I can guarantee you this issue is going to be worth money. This is going to get bought. Now, when it comes to Melinda May, that character has made the jump from TV to comics, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Following in the footsteps of characters like Firestar and Harley Quinn. Well, it turns out Melinda May is going to get some pretty heavy backup when it comes to writing. The Agent May's first solo comic book is coming out soon, and it's called The Cavalry. It's part of the S.H.I.E.L.D. 50th anniversary specials.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The writer of that... The writer of that particular issue is Jody Houser. Jody Houser does writing for another sci-fi property known as Orphan Black.
Huh.
I mean, that's almost like an endorsement right there of belief in a character if you're going to hire a TV writer to write their first comic. I'm starting to wonder if Melinda May is going to pop up as one of the lead S.H.I.E.L.D. agents you usually see in other comics where you usually see like Maria Hill or, you know, Quartermain die for the 8th time or something like that. It does seem like they're going somewhere with this.
Mm-hmm.
And last up in Marvel comic news, and I know it seems like a lot, Rocket Raccoon and Groot are getting a new ongoing series. We've seen Groot get its own comic. We've seen Rocket Raccoon get his own comic. Now they're getting a buddy book. The first issue comes out, I believe it's this December. Yes, Rocket Raccoon and Groot number 1 come out this December. According to Scotty Young, the guy who's doing the art for it, he's the one that does all the little Marvel stuff for them. It says, quote, Rocket Raccoon is a big bad crime lord who is running a crime empire but has no memory of who he is or where he came from. Groot will have a bunch of crazy symbols carved into his bark-like tattoos that are clues to who Rocket is and what happened to him to turn into this. He's absolutely Yeah. That's from the series editor Jake Thomas. He said the first arc takes its inspiration from surprisingly serious places like the film Memento and the TV show.
I was going to say
Prison
it sounded
Break.
like Memento.
Yeah. It sounds like he's making a joke out of 2 of his favorite movies. It's supposed to be a series that'll be a bunch of 1 and 2 issue arcs. It's going to be a bunch of short storytelling. It's supposed to be easier jump in and out points. Probably to keep it from getting too muddy when it comes to comic book continuity. Which, as we know, can get really frackin' messy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just talk to DC.
Well, if you insist, it is time for DC comic news. And first up is it's a new series. It doesn't say what necessarily it's going to be called, but it does tell you what characters are going to be in it. It's Going to start in October. I think the series name is going to be Telos, which obviously is the character from the Convergence miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
However, Telos is going to be teaming up with some cosmic characters at DC I'm not very familiar with. A new character named Stealth, a long-standing DC cosmic character known as Captain Comet, and a new character called K-Rot, who's supposed to be the main DC universe of Captain Carrot. The main universe version of Captain Carrot, I should say. And frankly, I've been looking at the cover. I know maybe it's because I'm just a Marvel fan, but to me, this new cover just screams Guardians of the Galaxy. Take a look at this.
Lud Fester.
I mean, there's Telos standing in the middle, supposed to be the being of power. There's the character I assume is Stealth behind him. There's Captain Comet hanging, and then there's K-Rot, who looks an awful lot like a rabbit version of Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, with a melee weapon rather than guns.
I think they're in a prison. I think that's a shiv.
Okay.
It looks like a prison anyway.
Wow. Yeah.
So I don't quite know what to make of this. Apparently a lot of the early part of the series will deal with Telos trying to rediscover himself. He's going into what's called the United Planets and other parts, including Kolu, Brainiac's home planet, and the greater cosmic universe. Don't know how I feel about this. Because, unfortunately a lot of what came out of Convergence did not resonate well with me.
I don't think it resonated with any of us.
Well, it resonated some, but, I admit there were times I never had to poop that bad before. But, hey. Speaking of series in DC, though, We Are Robin. In its third issue, they finally revealed a major character plot line. Apparently, the Robins were brought together by something called the Nest. It contacted them all via social media and got them together. A recent character death has occurred, and the Nest has decided it may be time to meet the Robins face-to-face for the first time. Turns out the Nest is Alfred Pennyworth.
Really?
Yeah, he's been running the Robins out of the Batcave since Bruce Wayne has lost his memory and isn't using it.
Huh.
Which is kind of strange, considering that issue where he just told Clark Kent, that's the first Bruce Wayne to ever walk the Earth. You'd think he'd leave everything alone. No, he decided to crime fight with a bunch of kids as Robins.
Well, he's trained like 5 of them, or helped train 5 of them already.
Yeah, and 2 of them have died, so what does that tell you?
Well, there's also the fact that, who trained Batman? In a
lots
way.
Of if you check the comics, lots of people.
Well, I don't know. He was Batman's, Bruce Wayne's, father figure. So
he potty trained him at least. But let's see. Also, when it comes to the Batman 66 digital series, they're getting a new crossover. As of, I think it's coming. Oh, December 23rd, Batman 1966 meets The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It's going to be a 6-issue series pitting the two 1960s era properties against one another. The crossover is going to be made to reflect the continuity and likenesses of the 1964 to 1968 TV versions of both shows. Honestly, I've heard worse ideas than this. A spy versus Batman, actually, that might be an interesting battle. The spy might be smart enough to figure out who Batman is. IO9 did a story, though, saying that the best Wonder Woman comics they've ever read recently have been the digital comic Sensation comics. It looks like it's a bunch of Wonder Woman stories done by different creators, different writers, different artists. No real straight continuity. They're just literally telling Wonder Woman stories. It can be a little jarring from what I can tell reading it from story to story, but at the same time, it looks like it has the flexibility needed to kind of explore the different aspects of Diana's personality, which often come off as very combative in the comics, and that's all she is. At least since 2000, I would say. It's like one of these things has her in this weird costume that looks reminiscent of her, I guess you could say, most well-known outfit, but a space version. It's covering the arms and legs, just everything is colored like her 1960s costume.
Okay.
And the astronaut she's trying to save says, please tell me you have a different Wonder outfit for every occasion. Wonder Woman looks at her, smiles, and says, perks of the job.
Huh.
So, like I said, they just seem to be telling interesting stories. And now that I've said that out loud, it's kind of sad that I have to move to the next story. Okay, so now that we've read a story about how interesting Wonder Woman comics is, it's almost sad I have to go to the next story. DC has announced that they're canceling several of their lower performing issues. You know, we've discussed last week how supposedly DC Comics has decided to move closer to meat and potato stories because they lost $2 million compared to last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
The list of stories that are going to be canceled is Batman 66, Sensation Comics featuring Wonder Woman, Green Lantern: The Lost Army, and a few others. Now, it's interesting because Green Lantern: The Lost Army, DC recently said that that's supposed to be a 6-issue limited series. It's kind of interesting that nobody ever heard before that they were supposed to be a limited series. It was just supposed to be an ongoing as far as anybody knew.
Huh.
So issue 6 this December will be the end of that series as well. As well as another new series I'm not familiar with called Doomed, which almost sounds like a joke. We're canceling Doomed.
Yeah, I know.
You know, that's mean.
The irony is palpable.
And last up in DC comic news, DC has announced that they're doing a new series coming soon. It's called Harley's Little Black Book. It is a series of Harley Quinn teaming up with different characters across DC. It's supposed to be a 6-issue limited series. It's going to be a new ongoing series. It's spinning out of the popularity of a 6-issue team-up Harley Quinn had recently with Power Girl. That series concludes as of November of this year. And her first team-up might be the first one that kills her. It's Wonder Woman.
I have difficulty picturing that, although I don't know Wonder Woman very well.
Well, actually, I can help you picture that because they released an image that was done of the cover. I think this is being done by Amanda Connor, and I think she'll kill her. Short version, they swap costumes.
Yeah, that barely fits her.
Yeah, right?
You know, the look on
Wonder Woman has some excess cleavage there.
Yeah, I mean, Wonder Woman looks like that somewhere beneath that bored expression is, I'm going to strangle her. I'm going to strangle her with that goddamn golden lasso. I'm just going to put it around her neck and pull.
She might like it.
From there, we'll go into general comic and convention news. We talk about the comics that don't fall into Marvel and DC, as well as news of conventions around the world. And it's been announced just yesterday. There will be new Marvel Civil War footage to debut at a new convention.
What kind of footage?
Brand new footage no one's ever seen before. Apparently it hasn't even been seen at San Diego Comic-Con. However, to see this footage, you better book your plane right now because it's going to debut September 19th at Asia Pop Comic-Con, Manila, Philippines.
Oh, wow.
Is that supposed to be, like, huge? Like, bigger than San Diego?
Asia Pop Comic-Con? I haven't heard anything like that. Comic-Head I know is bigger than Comic-Con. But that's in Japan, and they have nothing to do with movies. Reportedly, Rita Magnus, she's the general manager of Universal Events and Entertainment, said the footage would debut at 1 p.m. on September 19th in a panel dedicated to Marvel Studio films, and Vision actor Paul Bettany is reportedly going to be at the event as well. According to Magnus, quote, "What we're doing is an exclusive screening of never-seen scenes from Captain America Civil War, and we'll have Paul Bettany with a panel after that, so it kind of encompasses a new Marvel movie," unquote. Now, before people who go to Comic-Con just start screaming, "What the fuck, Marvel?" You know, you got to remember they were still working on the goddamn movie while Comic-Con was happening. You know, new scenes are finished. That's just the way it is. And watch, as we get closer to the release date, more stuff's going to get finished.
So,
it's amazing how that occurs. Warren Ellis, he's a well-known comic writer. He's done a lot of stuff over the years. And it turns out he's also the guy who wrote the comic book Red that was made into a movie with Bruce Willis and John Malkovich.
Uh-huh.
Well, he may be one of the most apt people to do this because it turns out that he's doing a new comic for Dynamite Entertainment. Warren Ellis is writing the James Bond 007 series.
Huh.
So he is doing a new adaptation. It's not going to revolve around any particular movie or continuity from the films. He's doing a brand new series of James Bond for Dynamite Entertainment.
Okay.
Color me curious. The technology would be very varied, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Don't have the limitations of film. Mark Guggenheim is the guy who does all the TV series for DC on the CW. He's the one in charge of Arrow and Flash and Legends of Tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
Well, he's also a comic book writer. Has been for a long time. Mm-hmm. He's writing a new independent series called The Infinite Adventures of Jonas Quantum. It's being billed... Quantum? Yeah, it's being billed as the adventurer who is the smartest man on Earth. Which is kind of weird because he's built like Flash Gordon, looks a little bit like Chris Hemsworth, and according to the description, he's fucking MacGyver, too.
Looks like Chris Hemsworth, must have pictures to prove.
I said looks a little bit like it. He's got that wide square jaw. Actually, he reminds me a lot of Casper Van Dien, according to the cover.
Who?
Casper Van Dien was a guy who starred in Starship Troopers.
Ah.
There's the image of him, The Infinite Adventures of Jonas Quantum. It sounds like it's right for Johnny Quest jokes.
Yeah. That was the first thing I thought of.
He's billed as a maverick hyper genius who travels the world saving humanity and encountering different adventures each issue. He is fucking Johnny Quest.
So,
I was going to say he could be Flash Gordon, but then I was like, oh wait, genius. No, never mind.
As long as he doesn't have a hologram buddy called Al.
See, he has like a stud on his...
Well, it says here he has a holographic buddy named Al.
Okay.
Kidding.
Oh.
Jesse had said, no, as long as he doesn't, but it's kind of like Quantum Leap.
Yeah. Last up in general comic news, there is a new series from Vertigo, which is a DC subsidiary coming out. It's called Survivors Club. It's an interesting story. It plays on the tropes of 80s horror films. It's supposed to be bringing together the survivors of 1987 slasher-type film experiences to battle a new threat in the present day. So it's kind of like Scream Queens without the cheese, I guess. It sounds like one of those things that can be an utter mind screw. No, if you want to know what kind of tone they're trying to set for this series, I doubt this is going to be the look of the interiors, but here's one of the proposed covers of Survivors Club. It's fucking creepy.
Oh.
Just staring at it is fucking creepy. Because I think it stares back at you.
That guy's eyes are mesmerizing.
More than a bit. So these, again, this is supposed to be about the survivors of 1987-style slasher film experiences getting together to battle a new threat. It almost makes you wonder if any of them would be scared.
PTSD.
Yeah, I was about to say. If it's going to be a bunch of people that survive that kind of shit, like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, not one of them is going to be afraid of anything.
Oh yeah,
he's like, shoot it now. Of everything.
Could you imagine one of them getting carjacked? Give me your car. Why? What you got? We also have a little bit of anime in Japan news. Speaking as anime fans, we just like to talk about the new innovations that come from across the sea as far as entertainment. First one is a bit of a surprise. They've announced a live-action Death Note film coming.
I thought they already did one.
No, they talked about TV series before. They were talking about TV series. They did stage play. Now they're talking about film.
Huh, okay.
All of a sudden, there's just an onslaught of Death Note live-action entertainment. It's going to come out in 2016. It's going to be a sequel to two previous There were two previous live-action films back in 2000.
Yeah, I remember.
I was going to say, because I thought we were pretty impressed with the way that they had the demon turn out.
Those were, that again was TV. The movies came out back in 2006.
I've actually seen Death Note, believe it or not.
I enjoyed the story up until they killed L.
The story on Sankaku is kind of funny because according to them, quote, this makes more critical fans wonder when the series itself will be written down in the notebook to finally die, unquote. Jeez, a little touchy there. And the only other story I have in Anime Japan news is actually an offshoot from Yahoo News. There were some Dragon Ball fans recently who watched Dragon Ball Super and they were unimpressed. You know, they thought the animation quality was not befitting of their memories of Dragon Ball. So, being enterprising people that they were, they put together a CG test under the premise of what would it be like if Dragon Ball was reanimated as a Pixar movie.
Oh, I think I've seen these.
It's only a 5-second test of what Goku would look like as a CG character. And I sent the video. There's no sound to it, but you can see they actually put a little love into that figure. Although you need to move the gourd away from his balls. That's really distracting. It looks like he's got like Tanuki balls hanging down there. I must admit, though, that's a vast improvement over the animation style the series has been using.
It does look really good.
Yeah. I give him credit for at least making the attempt. And now we'll talk about nerd interest news, where we talk about technological and sociological innovations that don't have to do with entertainment. First up is an image of Messier 63. It is a sunflower galaxy. It's so called because the spiral shape resembles the spiral seeds at the center of a sunflower. Messier is 27 million light years away in the M51 group. With as big as Oxford's dictionary is, can't we find better names for this shit?
Right?
For crying out loud, because there should be a better name than Messier 57 or M51's the M51 sector for what this looks like.
Yeah, they should just start naming planets after planets from fiction, like Alderaan or something like that.
Maybe they're more concerned that sooner or later we'll meet somebody that says, "Hey, my home is called Yebnat." Okay, well now we have to change the books. Have you seen what the inside of the crew module to the Dragon capsule by SpaceX?
No.
No, but you have pics.
It is reminiscent of something out of a sci-fi movie, like 2001 Space Odyssey or something. It looks way too fancy for a space vehicle. It's got these interesting reinforced like bucket seats with 5-point harnesses, interesting single push button commands, multiple monitors, and this odd LED track lighting that is way too mood setting. See, this is the kind of vehicle that... actually, I'll do you one better. I'll YouTube it.
Awesome.
I sent the video. Okay, so lots of darkness. There we go. Music's a bit
Lots
creepy.
of white and chrome. And
Yeah,
Why am I looking at a BMW commercial?
because you clicked the wrong video again.
That's what this
This looks like a
swear
simulator.
that looks like a high-tech sound system.
Hey, dude, if I was going to space, I would want some bitchin' blasts.
My only rule though is I could not
Oh, you'd be
ride in the
getting
second
plenty
row.
of bass.
I could not ride in the second row. I would not want to have people farting and shitting all over me if they freak out.
Well, at least it'll, float if you're above.
It's nowhere near as weirdly Spartan or janky as like most other space vehicles that have been produced. That looks way too clean.
That's really sexy. And I have a renewed desire to be an astronaut now.
Yeah, so you can have sex with a ship. I understand.
Exactly.
Well, there's a new concept running around in agriculture. It is called vertical farming.
Oh yeah, I've seen several vertical farms around.
This is a new concept to me. The idea is that agriculture as it exists, modern agriculture across the world, is depleting the soils. So the idea is to come up with a sustainable way to produce produce without actually harming the ground. one of these formats is called vertical farming. It's this interesting idea, I should say, where it almost looks like you feed water through a spray system onto soil deposits, right? Like hanging soil deposits.
Mm-hmm.
That groundwater then goes through a siphon at the bottom of those soil deposits into a tank that has tilapia fish. The fish are given some food. Then they poop, which turns into ammonia and nitrates, which is sucked into a pump, processed, and then refed into the tubes that, again, are spraying onto the soil. So it's a cycle.
All right.
It's a form of renewable, sustainable farming. And I don't think they're out. I have a general link to the story on IO9, and I really don't think these are out of the conceptual phase yet, because this doesn't sound like anything I've heard of in practice.
Well, that's not quite true, because I've heard about fish tanks that actually allow you to grow like an herb garden or something like that, and they basically do the same kind of a deal where you basically have the herb garden sitting on top of this fish tank, and the fish, it just pumps the water up into that herb garden. It's very small scale, obviously, but
we're talking about much larger scale, and these things would take a lot of resources to get started. That's what worries me. Because
this looks like it might be viable with enough capital behind it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem, though, is that you have to get somebody enterprising. You have to get an Elon Musk or somebody willing to take a chance. And most businesses, at least most capitalist businesses, aren't really into the idea of chance.
Unless we get an Elon Musk. Or Elon Musk himself.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Musk, he's a little too busy with SpaceX and stuff. He's building sexy spaceships for you. So, he's got his own problems.
Too many awesome that he can do.
I don't know. I find it amusing that they actually have this as a researchable technology in the Civ Space game.
Wait, which
vertical farming
Civ Space game?
Beyond Earth.
Oh,
Beyond Earth.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the concept art of this weird bubble thing. It looks like looks like some kind of weird anime version of the future. But all I can picture is some kind of gigantic tower like that. Not in California. Just wouldn't happen.
Yeah, we're in a drought.
I was thinking more about ground shake.
Yeah.
We may be entering the world of the Matrix pretty soon.
Oh boy.
Okay.
DARPA is starting to develop technology to boost memory via cybernetic implant.
Ooh, I want one.
Not only boost memory, supposedly the technology may be able to restore memory as well.
So, like for Alzheimer's patients, or?
Not the original purpose for it, but it's possible to be used in that application. The reason why DARPA is developing it is to help veterans who may have traumatic head injury. So the devices may be able to obviously boost and restore memory in other people, but the original intent is to help veterans, more or less. It's called DARPA's Restoring Active Memory, or RAM program. The idea is to allow scientists to read and interpret brain activity involved in forming and recalling memories and predict when a person is about to remember something incorrectly. Electrodes that can then be used to deliver targeted electrical shocks to specific groups of brain cells that store memory, making it more accessible. It's a nice idea, but my first concern is, and what if somebody hacks that shit?
Yeah.
That could, depending on how that's applied, that could either revolutionize or corrupt the justice system.
Or we might actually have one.
Yeah. Hence the revolutionized part. But
there is a California company called Alternative Ballistics. They have an... Oh, yeah, that's their business, but killing people is not their business. They come up with an interesting idea I've never heard of before. This is according to Gizmodo. They have a single-shot clip-on that's made to fit on most handguns that can make them, for at least a single shot, non-lethal.
Huh.
The accessory is called the Alternative. It's an orange clip-on that has a silver sphere at the end of it. It fits over the barrel of most handguns. The way it works is when you fire, the bullet will launch directly into the cylinder, and then the cylinder will rocket off and hit somebody else. Because of the larger surface area of the sphere, sphere, I should say, it creates an impact similar to a beanbag round, a non-lethal but painful shot. And then when you fire, because of the way that the barrel slides backward, it kicks off the orange clip. So it's a single-shot, non-lethal round.
We call that the warning shot.
Well, like I said, it's called the alternative. It can be clipped. And even if you have this on the end of the barrel, there's still room for you to clip things on the underside of the barrel, including flashlights. The sights still work pretty well, too.
Huh.
It's an interesting innovation.
That's a really good idea. That will help bridge the gap between I want a gun to protect myself and I just want a gun.
That would bridge the reasonable gap. However, you're still going to have those people that say, I don't want my gun unless it can be an AR-15 with at least 30 rounds.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, there's plenty of people that just want a gun. Well,
yeah.
Some of them just because they want to shoot something. It looks cool, like to practice, or some people just because they want to defend their home.
Yeah, and other people because those damn squirrels keep stealing my bread! A skeleton came out of the ground recently. Popped out of the ground, actually. It happened when a tree uprooted.
Oops.
Okay.
I think I've seen this. I glanced over this article.
The Irish town of Colooney had a storm recently. Some pretty serious winds happened, and it happened to uproot a 1,000-year-old birch tree. Or a 200-year-old birch tree. It was almost like something right out of the movies, because when people started to inspect the roots of this birch tree, they found half a skeleton.
Wow.
The other half of it was still in the ground, unfortunately.
What kind of skeleton?
They're not sure. They think that the remains are about 1,000 years old. And the upper half, like I said, was just entangled in the roots of this tree. According to Irish archaeology, quote, preliminary analysis has indicated that the remains consist of a young man who was between 17 and 25 years old when he died. His bones contain several injuries which would have been inflicted by a sharp blade, possibly a sword or knife. He had obviously suffered a violent death, but whether these wounds were related to an ancient battle or a personal dispute remains unknown. The body was subsequently buried in a shallow, east-west oriented grave, and radiocarbon analysis indicates that this occurred sometimes between 1030 and 1200 AD, unquote.
I wonder if the tree was... tree seed was buried with him in order for the tree to grow on his grave.
I was wondering that myself, except the tree itself is 200 years old. The grave is about 1,000 years old. So I guess this is all just coincidence. However, one thing I'm sure of is that it looks like the body appears to be about, I'd say somewhere around 5'6", so it's not Tyrion Lannister. Speaking of which, a lot of people may not be aware of this. I am, because unfortunately my wife is very obsessed with the Museum of Natural History down in La Brea. Dire wolves were real.
I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are not aware of this.
Just like saber-toothed tigers and so forth.
Yeah, they existed about 15,000 years ago. There is a collection of skulls at the Museum of Natural History. They put up a graphic at one point. They've pulled over 1,200 skulls, if memory serves, of dire wolves out of the La Brea tar pits. Which, if it tells me anything, wolves just don't know what to do with tar.
What does know what to do with tar?
The guys who work on my streets.
Okay, other than humans.
Well, apparently dire wolves were about 175 pounds on the average, which is only about 30 pounds heavier than wolves today. They weren't as tall as modern wolves. Their weight pretty much distributed into a heavy build, so they were broad-chested, not huge.
I thought they were larger.
No,
yeah, me too.
They're not even as tall as modern wolves are.
But they're
they're wide. Yeah. They're like the Sylvester Stallone of wolves. They're not as tall, but holy fuck, if they punch you, it hurts. Dire wolves were also not very varied, even between sexes. They had slightly larger teeth than males. Females did anyway. And that's the only sexual variation between the two types of dire wolves.
Well, unless there was a fur color thing, we obviously wouldn't be able to see.
Well, no, the story says that they just didn't vary much at all. There wasn't even a fur color difference for the most part.
How do they even know?
That's what I'm kind of curious about.
I'm not sure.
Maybe they've gotten direwolves frozen in icebergs or something.
Or it could be just general genetic study of the bones they have been able to pull.
That could be. Maybe it's not so long ago that they can't get a genetic sample from it or something.
Yeah, they hunted in packs. They were known to bring down giant sloths in groups. During lean times, it would have turned to scavenging carcasses. A lot of dire wolves have worn out or broken teeth coming from chewing bones. A lot of studies have compared the various strengths of modern wolf teeth, hyena teeth, dire wolf teeth, and saber-toothed cat teeth. Dire wolves didn't even have the toughest teeth in the business, and they weren't accustomed to crunching down on bone. Instead, they had something called something else going for them, apparently. If you put your hand on your chin and trace back along your jaw until you get to the corner of your jaw, slide your fingers up until you feel the slight ridge of your skull just over your jaw. That's the zygomatic arch. Dire wolves had a more prominent zygomatic arch.
So that means sharper, or?
I think that has to do with jaw strength.
So they're more like crocodiles in that respect.
Yeah, their teeth may not have been as strong, but it sounds like they could clamp down very hard. And you know the muscle that gets stressed when you chew too much?
Yeah.
Right at the back of your jaw? That's the temporal muscle. Dire wolves had a very pronounced temporal muscle. So they had extra bite strength in general. Maybe that's why they kept crushing their teeth when they came to bones.
I don't know. If it's a fresh bone, it shouldn't be that tough.
Well, they like the story said, they were scavengers when times were lean, so they wouldn't have been terribly fresh bones. They would have been there after other animals had already picked them.
Right.
Let's see. Kotaku had a collection. Jezebel.com had a collection of stories from their readers of phenomenal restaurant smartasses.
This should be good.
We'll see. From the user Matt Harding, quote, "This took place several years ago in the town of Fayetteville, Arkansas, at a restaurant known as ROTC, the Restaurant on the Corner. The waiter in question, we'll call him Simon, was a waiter who earned the favor of regulars by being efficient and direct, but made no attempt to be pleasant, just to fish for tips, or, frankly, for any reason whatsoever. Kurt, typically scowling, and on weekend mornings and afternoons almost invariably severely hungover, he could be a nightmare for newcomers not prepared for the no-nonsense approach he took to the job. One Sunday brunch, I and some friends were dining there when the table beside us, a family of 5 or 6 people, flagged him down. Now, they weren't especially rude, but it was a very busy morning and they weren't his customers. The waiter had been gone for several minutes. 'Young man,' the matron of the group said to him, indicating the baked potato on her plate, 'I'm afraid there's been a mistake. I ordered hash browns. That is a baked potato.' Simon stood there for a few silent seconds with a blank expression, like he was slowly able to process the events taking place before him. Then, with a look of genuine confusion, he leaned over and eyeballed the potato. Slowly, gently, he reached over and lifted it from her plate. He stood again and inspected it, holding it above his head to check the underside, turning it around to investigate every angle. Then, seemingly satisfied with his evaluation, he returned it to her plate, turned to her and replied, 'You're absolutely right, ma'am. That is a baked potato.' Then, leaning down in an almost conspiratorial fashion, he pointed towards the kitchen and said, 'Don't let them fool you.' With that, and before the shocked and confused customers could immediately respond, he made off to the back, leaving them speechless and our table trying to suppress muffled giggles."
That's the best response to "this is the wrong order ever."
Let's see. And one more story here is by user John Carp. Quote, "I was working drive-thru at a charming Mexican cantina chain with a talking chihuahua for a mascot. We affectionately called it Toxic Hell. When a man sporting the local Tennessee drawl pulls up and asks, 'Excuse me, but do y'all have any burritos?' I recall clearly that we had more varieties of burrito on the menu than any other kind of fake-ass Tex-Mex cuisine, even more than the namesake product. Further, note that in drive-thru, there's a board that spells all that crap out. I don't know where my response came from, but it made me believe in angels or the collective subconscious or whatever. 'No, sir, you want Burrito Bell. They're right down the street.' He paused, said, 'Okay,' and drove off." Unquote.
Wow.
Damn.
You want one more of these?
Yes.
Sure.
According to user Matthew Parker, quote, I worked at a Greek place for a while. We had a mother and daughter who were part of the richest family in town, come in weekly and never tip. They always ordered souvlaki, but always complained that it had a stick in it. The waitress would ask if they wanted it without the stick, but no, they wanted the stick in it so they could send it back to the kitchen to have the stick removed, because they couldn't do it themselves. They were also of the age where the cold grasp of the grave prevented them from feeling any warmth, so everything had to be sent back to be reheated several times. On her last night, one waitress grabbed some brandy that we used for saganaki on her way back out to the table with her reheated food. She threw it down, lit it on fire, and said, "Is that hot enough now?" She was truly a hero, unquote. Wow. Yeah, we'll provide a link to the rest of those stories. That was more entertaining than I thought it would be. But that's okay. There's another Kotaku page that's full of stories of video game horror stories.
Ooh.
This should be good.
The first one, I would read the title, but it buries the lead. It's from a user named Jay. Quote, about 12 years ago or so, I had my dad drive me to Best Buy so I could pick up the newly released X-Men Legends. I was a huge comic fan, and the game looked pretty good, so I was pretty stoked. When we got home, the first thing I did was pop that baby into my PS2 and start playing. But something was amiss. When it started playing, it wasn't a video game. It was some B-movie called Palm Springs or something. Ended up being cheap softcore porn. I ejected the disc, no pun intended, to see if there was some sort of mix-up, but it had the X-Men Legends cover and everything on the CD. So I had my dad drive me back to Best Buy, which was a 30-minute drive, and he was already mad because he hated video games. And I did a simple exchange with the customer service personnel. I even explained the issue with them before they gave me a new unopened copy. Fast forward another 30-minute drive home, and I get the same thing. It was that stupid movie again with the wrong cover on the disc. It took no short amount of pleading and begging for my dad to drive me back over to the store. I was pretty upset at this point because I really wanted to play that game, and my dad was super angry with me. I asked for the manager of the store and proceeded to explain the situation. He looked at me like I was an idiot kid. He told me that games usually start off with a short cinematic before they go to the main menu. I played games all damn day. I knew what a cinematic was. I begged him just to pop it into their demo PS2 or even a damn DVD player, but he refused. He began to get quite angry with me and told me off for wasting his time. He then proceeded to disappear into the back of the store, leaving me standing there for half an hour. I finally figured he wasn't coming back and just asked the original person helping me to just refund me my damn money. I left Best Buy with my refund in pocket and a chip on my shoulder. They treated me like an idiot and refused to listen to a damn thing I said. I eventually went to GameStop a few weeks later and picked up a genuine copy there. Never did hear anything on the news about a bunch of PS2 game discs being mixed up with porn movies. And I refuse to step foot into Best Buy to this day, unquote.
Bam.
How does that even happen?
Twice.
It must have been a bad run of discs. It sounds like they just mislabeled something.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, to happen once is a strange mistake. To happen twice, that's a bad run. And, you know, it's kind of funny that he mentions GameStop, because the other story I'm going to read to you, it's titled, "You Must Be Poor," from a user named Blue Blip.
Whoa.
Quote, I had a bizarre experience when visiting a GameStop once, all the way back in 2005. All the way back, really?
That's not very far.
It started off, oddly enough, as a misguided attempt to be helpful, but descended into an unintentional condescension and now serves as a cautionary tale as to why one shouldn't rely on stereotypes to judge other people. It was around a month ago after Jade Empire had been released, and I was visiting my brother who lived in Chicago at the time. I was attending university nearby. Seeing as I'm a BioWare boy, I decided to check out the nearest GameStop to see if they had a copy. I walk into the store and it was empty, save me and a very average-looking 20-something-year-old guy behind the counter. He was reading something and glanced up at me when I entered. Things started off pleasantly enough. We both greeted each other warmly, and I asked him if he's got a copy of Jade Empire. They do, but since neither of us seemed to be in a hurry, we just started chatting. Halfway through our conversation, the guy then asked me where I'm from. Perfectly normal, I'm from India. So I told him, and then he asked, no, where in the States are you from? Again, nothing unusual. I've always spoken English without much of an accent of any kind, and any people in the U.S. simply assumed I was born and brought up there because of that. So I tell our shopkeep that, no, I'm really from India. Really? Oh, wow. Did you go to school on an elephant?
What?
Now, this was a most abnormal question. And it took me completely by surprise. I thought I must have heard him wrong. I'm sorry, but could you repeat that? Did you used to go to school on an elephant? I started laughing. It was an instinctive reaction to such an absurd question. And by laughing, I mean doubled over, clutching my stomach, gasping for breath kind of laughing. My reaction must have hurt the feelings of the counter guy because he had this puzzled yet injured look on his face. So when I was able to control my emotions, I explained that, no, I did not go to school on an elephant, and that no one in India goes to school via elephant, and that we do have cars and such. The guy immediately became very apologetic and such. I told him it was all okay, etc., etc. But this is where it gets to the bad part. His follow-up question was, are you sure you want this game? A little surprised, I replied, yes, of course I want it. Why did he ask? Well, games like Jade Empire are a little complicated, you know? Seeing you're from India, you most likely have never played games before. I mean, what? I don't want to be rude, but I'm guessing you've never even used a computer before you came to the States.
Oh.
Now, really? Keep in mind that when I say I'm in old school, I mean that my first computer was an Apple IIc from the 80s, and that didn't even have any form of internal storage at all. It ran off RAM and ROM, and you had to save everything on 5 1/4-inch floppies or run programs off said disks. So yes, I'm intimately familiar with computers. But despite that, what the guy said was kind of dickish. Maintaining my cool, I explained that this was 2005, and they're pretty ubiquitous. But they can be expensive, and I can't imagine you coming from such a poor country and affording one. So I'm just trying to point out that if you want to get into gaming, there are better, cheaper ones you can buy. Get a feel for what games were like before buying something like Jade Empire. I mean, I doubt you can even afford a rig that can even run it. At that point, I figured it would be best if I simply bought the game and left the store immediately, because my overwhelming urge to punch the guy took over, unquote.
Yeah. Wow.
I wouldn't have even bought the game. I would have been just like, fuck you, and left. Except okay, who am I kidding? I wouldn't have actually said fuck you, but...
No, I've met you. You would have told him to go fuck himself and the horse he rode in on. Actually,
your manager.
I have to read this one more here because the title makes me curious. From user Private Smiley, titled "Way to Make a 10-Year-Old Boy Cry."
Oh, okay.
Quote, so maybe 10 years ago, again in 2005, what the fuck? Quote, so maybe 10 years ago, my best friends, my brother, and myself all got into Warcraft 3. Well, my brother wanted the battle chest for it, so my dad, my brother, and I went to good old Walmart to get it. Go back to electronics, find it, pay for it, back there, get receipt, but no bag, as it was too big. As we head for the exit, the greeter person sees my little brother holding the battle chest and starts screaming at him that he stole it, while my dad is right there. He calmly shows her the receipt that shows it's paid for, but she will not listen and threatens to get her manager. Meanwhile, my 10-year-old brother is almost in tears because this random lady has been screaming at him in public. The manager comes over, sees the receipt, tells us we can go, and gives the greeter a hard look and tells her to come to the office, unquote.
Nice.
What the fuck?
I don't know. That man, maybe it was a very harsh period that year?
If the kid, what I don't understand is why she would not accept the receipt. Like, just...
I don't know. The few times I bought...
stupidity?
I don't know. I mean, I've been to Walmart's electronics section. Yes, you have to buy it way back there and then walk to the front with your shit. They don't bring it for you. You have to pay for it back there. So I don't know what her deal was. Last up in nerd interest news is an interesting one from the United Kingdom. And it's not an onion story, but it sounds like one. Apparently there's a stabbing problem in the UK. They're starting a new campaign that says, save a life, surrender your knife. There's a new movement to ban the sale of pointy objects.
Okay, is that going to go all the way down to pencils?
Well, no, it's to ban pointy knives specifically.
Yeah, I know, but my point is you can stab people with, like, nigh on anything. Scissors, pencils,
poodles,
forks,
paper clips.
Paper
Not
clips.
to mention, kitchen utensils, which,
Yeah,
amazingly enough, contain knives.
I don't know. There's an amnesty program that began at the end of August, and more than 800 knives have been handed in from across the county. That includes swords, machetes, and commando knives.
Swords?
Well, I suppose I could understand, like, machetes or something like that. I don't really know.
Swords, yeah, I could understand that, but this is just...
This must be the reason why the Starks lost the war in the North.
Well, I mean, this is what happens after banning guns. Just doesn't actually reduce crime. It just makes everybody stab each other instead.
Well, it does reduce crime to a large degree, but, when people want to do harm, they're going to find interesting ways.
I don't know. Everything I've heard about the statistics regarding violence is that it's only gone up since the gun ban has happened. But I'd have to look at that again for specific numbers.
Sweden actually has an interesting rule on it. They have a mandatory 2-year conscription in the military for most of its citizens.
Well, for that matter, so does Korea.
Yeah, but the Swedish citizens are allowed to carry guns in open. However, it's bullets that are heavily restricted.
That makes sense.
I
It
don't
is kind of hard to shoot somebody if your gun isn't loaded.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact process behind it. It was kind of funny because there was a meme that was being passed around for a while that said Swedish had the lowest incident of gun violence because everyone can carry guns. And a Swedish person responded to that meme and said, yes, we all have guns, but we can't all shoot guns. And besides which, we're not all just some weirdos who could go in and buy guns whenever we want. Each of us are actually trained after 2 years of military on how to use guns, how not to use guns, and what to do if one is pointed at you.
See, I think we should institute something like that. The biggest problem with like accidental shootings and whatnot is they don't know how to use a freaking gun, and it's loaded for whatever reason.
Now, the unfortunate thing is, though, is just there should be a lot of mental training that goes into gun ownership.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I think the 2-year training thing is an excellent idea.
Well, it's not just gun training. I mean, it's military conscription. That's a standard 2-year stint in the military you have to do over there.
Yeah. Even so, I mean, Sweden's got it going on a number of fronts. Maybe we should look more into their policies.
You're only saying that because they have a very Star Trek policy when it comes to living wages. Now, from there we'll go into the what the fuck corner. It's those stories from across the internet that just make you go, blue fuck, what? And first off is a story that's gained a lot of traction in the last 24 hours. I'd almost be remiss if I didn't talk about it. I'm sure by now you guys have heard the name of Ahmed Mohammed.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Actually, no.
This is a very interesting yet sad story. Ahmed Mohammed was arrested in Texas yesterday for bringing a bomb to school.
I have heard about this.
Ahmed Mohammed, as his name implies, is a Muslim teenager. He's 14 years old, and the device that he was arrested for was a home-built clock.
Clock?
Yes,
it was a clock.
He went to Irving MacArthur High School. He built a clock specifically to show his teacher because it was a project of his that he was doing. And unfortunately, it caused a little bit of disruption because it started beeping from his bag, and he couldn't figure out how to stop the stupid thing. So he showed it to the teacher he built it for, who got upset at him. The teacher
got upset? That's
Yes.
part of the story I didn't hear.
The teacher got upset.
The teacher's the
with
one
him.
that originally asked him if it was a bomb, or said that it looked like a bomb.
He kept telling her it's a clock, and she insisted it's a bomb. So she dragged in the principal, who dragged in the police, and he was arrested.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
They literally took him away in handcuffs.
The responding...
I heard he got arrested, but I didn't hear that it was that teacher
Oh, yeah.
he showed it to that was responsible.
Yeah, the police showed up, put him in cuffs, and they started questioning him. And the responding officer said that Mohammed repeatedly explained the device is a clock, and the police spokesperson says the department had no reason to think it was dangerous, but they're still suspicious for reasons that they're having trouble articulating to the public. According to the statement, officers didn't believe that Ahmed was giving them the whole story at the time. According to a Mr. McClellan, quote, "We have no information that he claimed it was a bomb. He kept maintaining that it was a clock, but there was no broader explanation. It could reasonably be mistaken as a device if left in a bathroom or under a car. The concern was, what was this thing built for? Do we take him into custody?" Unquote.
Well,
it was
obviously
built to
you
be
did.
a clock.
You know what?
Oh.
I can tell the device was built for the purpose of telling fucking time.
You know what? The reason that they're having trouble articulating is they're totally racially profiling the dude.
Absolutely. You know, Muslim is the new black. I mean, fuck.
Like, if it had been a white dude that had brought the clock to class, no one would have thought a second thing of it.
Well, they would have thought, dude, you built a clock. What the hell?
Yeah, so now the police have found out that it wasn't a bomb, right?
Yeah.
Now the police are doubling down on this because they're deciding whether or not to charge young Mr. Mohammed with making a hoax bomb.
No, they filed
no.
the charges. They've decided not to file charges.
That's good.
As of when?
As of when I was reading the article.
Because as of a story in the Dallas Times on today, actually, it said that they were talking about, as of today, they were talking about charging him with building a hoax bomb.
I don't know. Yeah, when I was reading it on MSN, it said that they were not going to file charges.
Yeah, according to the Dallas Times, they're still considering it. He's getting an outpouring of support with the hashtag
he's
I Stand
been
with Mohammed.
invited to the White House.
Yeah, the hashtag is I Stand with Ahmed. He has been suspended from school for 3 days.
Yeah.
And Mohammed's principal admits this in a letter that was sent to his parents. The letter itself is rather interesting. It says, quote, "In Irving ISD and or at MacArthur High School, your child's safety and well-being is always our top priority, and we want to maintain open, honest, and timely communication with you. If there was ever an imminent threat to your child, we would take immediate and necessary precautions and would inform you immediately. While we do not have any threats to our school community, we want you to be aware that the Irving Police Department responded to a suspicious-looking item on campus yesterday. We are pleased to report that after the police department's assessment, the item was discovered at school, did not pose a threat to your child's safety. Our school is cooperating fully with the ongoing police investigation, and we are handling the situation in accordance with the Irving ISD Student Code of Conduct and applicable laws. Please rest assured that we will always take necessary steps to keep our school as safe as possible." Apparently that means getting rid of the brown people.
Apparently a bunch of people are sharing clock photos in support as well. Just sent the link.
I recommend using this opportunity to talk with your child about the Student Code of Conduct and specifically not bringing items to school that are prohibited.
A clock is prohibited?
Yeah, they should throw out all cell phones then. Also, this is a good time to remind your child how important it is to immediately report any suspicious items and or suspicious behavior they observe to any school employee so we can address it right away. We will always take necessary precautions to protect our students. Thank you for your understanding and support of MacArthur High School as we do everything we can for your child's safety. What's this poor guy supposed to do? Walk up to every teacher?
So bad.
Yeah, what's the poor guy supposed to do? Is he supposed to walk up to every teacher and say, "By the way, I'm Muslim. I might be suspicious"?
Right? I mean, what kind of suspicious activity were they even talking about reporting? It was the teachers that reported things right away. There was no...
It's utterly stupid.
I hate schools.
It's from top to bottom stupid.
Well, not schools. School administrators.
Well, being what the fuck, and thankfully with Kotaku being a hub of gamers, there is a interesting group of glitch videos that came out this week. There's 4 of them, actually. And the first one is one that's going to supply a lot of interesting videos, and that's Metal Gear Solid 5.
Okay.
The title of this particular video on Geno Cross's channel is called Too Many Guns. I sent the video. Okay, so there's Snake in the box. Or no, that's Big Boss now. That's right. What? The box is suspicious with legs? We'll just have to kill you. Okay, so he retreats inside. They know where he is, so he's going to take this guy out. Must be hard to run with all that shit hanging off you. So this is the last guy, I think. So he punches him upstairs. And he took his rifle. Awesome, right? Guy produces holdout pistol. So we steal that. And the guy produces holdout pistol. and we steal that. And the guy produces a holdout pistol, and we steal that. And he's got another holdout pistol. We'll steal that. Hey, another holdout pistol, and got that too.
So what does he have?
And apparently he's run out of guns and he's exhausted.
Okay. Where was he hiding all of that?
I assume he had a clown car in his pocket somewhere.
I was assuming that when he was stealing the gun, the other guy was reaching over with his other hand and stealing the other one back.
Right?
You know, when I saw that video, initially it wasn't funny. When he pulled out the third gun, I'm like, okay, now this requires an explanation. Apparently he went to the Schwarzenegger School of Shooting.
Well, it makes even less sense because, like, if it was more of a... Like, he had 3 guns rather than infinite guns. I
He
don't
had
know.
like 4 pistols and a rifle. The guy really thought that he was going to be invaded at some point.
Right?
Or he just
It
didn't feel
would
like
be funnier if
reloading.
they were literally all different models of a gun, and he actually had that many on him.
You just wish there was dialogue to go in it. Oh my god, he stole George! Help me, Lucille! Oh my god, he stole Lucille! Help me, Jane! He stole Jane! Come here, Roger! Well, the next video is also Metal Gear Solid 5, but it's the other end of the scale, because this video is by Lucas Brujeja. It's on his channel. It's called Broken Spine.
Oh.
And I sent that video. So there's Snake running through. It looks like a prison camp. And you see one poor guy just laying on the ground, right? Mm-hmm. So it turns out part of the mission is you got to pick this guy up, fireman carry, and get him out of there. So the player starts running, and I don't know why, but he makes a decision. You see that cylinder over there?
Yeah.
He's going to get rid of the body. And it's not supposed to do that.
Oh, ow.
That guy is folded cleanly in half, and for some reason, he starts throwing shit at it.
Well, I don't think he can get it down.
I'm sure he can't get it down, but when he throws stuff, you notice that squeaking sound?
No. I hear him grunting when he gets hit with stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, in the nuts!
Oh!
I mean, he's just throwing clips of ammo, which are not exactly light, right in the balls of this thing. This is not proper. You know, frack, man, that's just cold. But you got to do something when it does that, because after all, it's Metal Gear Solid. It's not Batman. He shouldn't be doing that to people's spines. But I have one more video from Metal Gear Solid. This one is from the channel Legit Gamer 255, which already sounds like you're trying way too fucking hard.
Yep.
But the title of this video is Pequod Didn't Want That Guy. The Pequod is the name of a gunship that comes in support every now and again. And I sent the video. So there's Snake, running uphill towards the base. There's Diamond Dog. Yeah. That dog actually has tactical gear, too.
Huh.
I only know that from action figures. Ooh! Headshot. Oh, that guy ran. Okay. The mechanics on where it finds enemies are kind of interesting.
Nice. Unscoped.
Yeah, this guy's pretty good when it comes to gunfire. Grab something. So the Pequod is inbound, as you can hear. Oh!
Ow!
That guy
went
was not
everywhere.
let to suffer. I wonder if the music is part of the game. Okay, you see that guy. He's watching the gunship, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to take him out so he doesn't shoot it down. Flips him over, and the Pequod says, "Fuck you!"
Holy shit. Shot Snake, too.
That's one of those things where you just said, okay, he didn't deserve that. You know, holy fuck, man. It's almost like he waited for you to judo flip him just so he could gun him down.
He's like, oh, thank you. He's incapable of dodging now.
It's like, I'm going to save your life. It's almost like, I'm going to save your life. Fuck, no, I don't. That was just brutal. The last video I have is from a game we haven't had a video from before, Madden 16.
Okay.
Yeah, this one is called the 16 Fumble Glitch.
16?
It's a long-ass video. It clocks in at about 9 minutes. I don't think we'll be able to get through all of that, but I watched part of it, and it's really weird how bad this is. And I sent the video. There you see
playing the Cardinals.
Yep, up against Carolina. It's a pass play. It's picked.
It's caught. Oh,
nope,
but
it
it's
fell on the
fumbled.
ground. Okay, there we go.
Oh,
and
picked it up.
Nope,
Oh,
still can't get it. Nope, still on the ground. There's now like 10 guys in a pile, and nobody can get this fucking ball. And they're still piling on, and nobody has the goddamn ball. You notice the cursor going crazy there? The player's trying like desperately to get this thing.
Yeah.
And you see
I love
them
the
piled
piano
up.
music.
Look at them just kind of writhe all over each other. They cannot get to this ball. It is a total Keystone Cops moment. And they're still just flopping all over each other. You notice the ref in the background like, hey, you gonna do anything here? Come on. It's a game. Come on.
At this point, they should be calling as a dead ball.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's in the rules. I think somebody has to get tackled before he can do that. Or at least get possession.
There certainly seems to be some amount of tackling going on here.
Or the clock is still running, you notice. And unfortunately, a live ball won't stop the... Or,
it's going to go out of bounds.
Yes. Well, it's getting closer. There we go. It's on... Nope. Nope. The pile has the ball. And it's squirting back towards the interior of the field. The unfortunate thing is, even if the game clock hits 0 until the play is whistled dead, it's still a live ball.
Yeah.
Look at them. You see those two guys on the end? It's like they're trying really hard to push underneath this pile.
Have they gone back to the skirmish line?
Roughly, yes. Sure. Oh, it's going forward again. Can you score a touchdown like this?
Maybe a touchdown or a touchback.
Look at the way some of them are just tripping on each other. And then other guys get pushed out of the way.
Over the other guy to try to get in there.
There's some guys that go ramming into the pile and they start moving it forward, then they just kind of fall over. It's the weirdest thing. There's a couple guys in there that look like they German suplexed each other.
Has this game been released?
Yes. This game is out. Amazingly, this one fumble is still going.
It's already 2 minutes. 2.5 minutes in.
Well, somebody will pick it up. It's a first down. I mean, shit. Nope, not anymore.
Nope, not anymore.
Is there a point at which they get it, or do they just fumble for... Yep, they just fumble for the thing for 9 minutes.
I admit I don't know. I was sitting laughing for about 4 minutes before I stopped the video because I was a little busy that evening. I got distracted with this. Oh, look, it's first down again. Oh, look, it's free. No, it's not.
Okay.
You might just walk away from this at this point.
Whoa! Somebody got backdropped.
And we're center field.
So, this is what it looks like when everyone's drunk, huh?
Yeah.
What, both teams?
Yes. Somebody came in with the infamous spray bowl. God, it looks like somebody just picked up somebody else and just threw him on the ground.
Yeah, at some point the refs would have called this in an actual game and just been like, no, because there would have been a foul or something.
This wouldn't have lasted more than like 3-5 seconds in a real game, I'm sure.
Yeah,
actually,
somebody would have fallen on it.
Usually by now the ball is stopped and pileups can last this long while people are trying to pull each other off and figure out who's got the ball. It can get a little ugly in a scramble.
I mean, yeah, the quarter's over, but...
Well, yeah, but it's still a live ball. Until somebody picks it up and has a hand or knee on the ground, it's still a live ball.
I've never willingly watched a football game, so...
This rarely happens.
Who chained you down for him?
My uncles would watch it at Christmas. I'd be captive on it.
I just saw one of the Panthers roll over the top of the pile down the other side.
I don't think we really want to watch this for 9 minutes, though.
I didn't say I did, but I'm just kind of amazed how far this goes. I mean, at some point, you gotta wonder just how stupid the AI is to not pick up the ball itself.
Right?
I'm actually seeing the thumbnail toward the end. They're in the... They actually rolled it back 50 yards toward us into the end zone.
Wow, so it went for a touchback?
Something.
This is
I was looking at the thumbnail because they're fighting for it in the end zone.
Well, this guy's discovered a new style of play.
Yeah, I think I've had about enough of that.
Yeah.
This is really bizarre. Oh, okay. I just fast forward to the end. It ended in a touchback. It squirted out the back end with nobody taking possession, so that's a touchback. Oh, no, wait. That's not a touchback. Technically, that's a touchdown for the other team. If nobody took possession and went out the back end, that's a touchdown. Holy shit. Imagine that going on in real life, man. People would be screaming, throwing shit.
Oh, yes. There it goes.
My God, that's got to be
And the coach is over there smiling. He's like,
Well,
hell yeah, that's
smiling.
how we do it.
Yeah, that's how we do it, man. 10 minutes of just falling all over each other. That's how we win games, son. You know, for fuck's sake. Now, this is another video, what the fuck, but it's of a completely different caliber than anything I've ever shown you guys before. You know how we sometimes have what the fucks that involve animals and photos that just really nobody should go out of their way to take?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drunk gorillas, angry lions, you know, gorillas that know how to pose way too well. Well, there were some people in a kayak who decided to paddle around off the California coast. And Sanctuary Cruises had a whale watching tour. It just so happens those kayakers got between a couple humpback whales, and then horror ensued. I sent the video. So this is from Sanctuary Cruises from just September 12th, just this past fucking week. You see those kayakers out there?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Watch the ones to the right. You see that tail that went down? That's not important.
Oh!
Bam!
Damn.
Yes, a humpback breached right on top of two kayakers and nearly crushed them. Thankfully, there were no major injuries.
And people are clapping everything. I don't think they realize what happened.
Yeah, that's dangerous. Thankfully, there were no major injuries to the kayakers. That's horrifying.
Blam.
Yeah, because now humans know what it feels like to be the ant, because that whale does not give a shit that you're there. That whale's just hungry. They really didn't need to slow down the audio, though. That's a little too creepy for me.
Right.
But again, a humpback whale just trying to get some food breached and landed right on top of some kayakers. And I'm sure in the moment that happened, they're going, holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck. And then about 15 minutes later, it's just, well, that's a story to tell the kids.
Yep.
Hey, look, a whale.
Oh shit, a whale!
Meanwhile, that whale's going, what was that?
And I don't know, but I got that itch.
Yeah, I think I stepped on something.
I need to pick something out of my tail. But that's not the only what the fuck involving animals or a video this week. There was somebody surfing off Manhattan Beach, and he got body checked by another animal.
This should be good.
Oh, I shit you not. All right, I sent the video. This happened off California's Manhattan Beach, which is Southern California. The video says Hermosa Beach. You notice the fin over there?
Yep.
This guy's being followed by a few dolphins. He's a stand-up paddleboarder.
Mm-hmm.
You can see a couple of them just flowing right under there, right? About two or three of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice show. They're going between a couple paddleboarders. Well, a few minutes later, here's this wave coming straight at him. See that shape? Boom!
Oh!
While
This
some
is my
dolphins,
turf. My turf.
while some dolphins were playing with each other, one ignored the fact that there was a paddle boater because he's a fucking lightweight and just decided to launch himself out of the water and boom, right into the paddle.
Well, you could tell that he was kind of turning too. He was like, "Oh shit, there's something there."
Yeah.
Another story where there were no major animals or major injuries to either animal or human. But that was literally just a moment where you found out this ocean is not fucking yours.
It'd be funnier if that dolphin just went straight to the human. Like,
I'm gonna show this bitch what's what. Unfortunately, that's two creatures who, in different languages, probably just saw each other in a split second and went, "Holy fuck!"
yeah.
Now we have a story about overprotective mothers.
Okay.
There is a woman in Tennessee that claims that the book The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks is too pornographic for her 15-year-old son to read. Her son was assigned the book in school. She doesn't like it because it has description of, let me see, a woman's cervix, as well as some talk about her vagina. Do you know what the story about The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks is?
No.
Nope.
The book of The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks is about a black woman whose cells were used against her consent in cancer research. She died of cervical cancer in 1951. The medical establishment did make big scientific gains and strides due to the cells they took from this woman's body without her knowing. It's an ethical dilemma, okay?
Okay.
Even though that's the focus of the book, I don't know what this woman has exactly read of it, but she's decided that this particular book, according to her own words, this woman is named Jackie Sims, quote, "I was shocked that there was so much graphic information in the book. I consider the book pornographic. It could be told in a different way. There's so many ways to say things without being that graphic in nature, and that's the problem I have in the book," unquote. What she read that appalled her specifically, she cited a passage that describes infidelity and another that describes Lack's intimate discovery that she has a lump on her cervix.
You know, the premise of the book.
Yeah, I don't know why she considers it pornographic. Sounds like what usually happens in Tennessee. Infidelity, cervixes, sounds pretty normal.
Parents are stupid.
Well, this one is.
I don't know what grade was her child in.
He's 15.
He was 15.
Okay.
Assuming he's not an idiot, he'd be in the 10th grade.
Even if he were younger, that's not either, unless it's actually like an erotica, I don't see what the problem is.
Well, she also expanded and said that the book says that Lax discovered her cancer by putting a finger in her vagina and that her husband brought home at least one STD. That kind of imagery is obviously too far shocking for a teenager to contemplate.
What?
What? That is mild compared to things you see on even
I've seen worse than Driver's
daytime
Ed.
television, yeah.
I think you guys are being generous because that's mild compared to a conversation between two fucking 15-year-olds.
Good point.
So, Sim's son was given an alternative text to read at her request, but she's pushing to have this book banned outright from Knox County schools. Holy shit.
I'm
pretty sure the nonprofit that I went to is going to get involved in that.
Probably. Actually, this lady should consider herself lucky she doesn't live next to Jennifer Lien.
Yes.
Why?
Because this also happened in Tennessee. V, you know who Jennifer Lien is.
Yeah, I do.
She's the actor who played Kes in Star Trek Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She's been arrested on 2 counts of exposing herself to a child under the age of 13.
Really?
Huh?
Yeah, deputies from Rowan County Sheriff's Office arrived at her home to deliver a summons. They were informed by dispatch that there was an active warrant actually out for Leanne for the exposure charges. It sounds like she's got some mental difficulties there. What apparently happened is her neighbor has young kids, and one of them was crying rather uncontrollably. Leanne, who is 41, apparently decided to have an argument with her neighbor outside the house over the crying because Leanne was angry that a child was crying because of a cut foot. And then for some reason, Leanne allegedly showed her breasts and her butt to the kids. Don't ask me to make sense of it because I have no fucking... This is like Lindsay Lohan-esque, okay?
I wonder if there were drugs involved in this in some way.
You'd almost think so, because
apparently when the officers showed up to arrest her, she was naked.
Well, not buck naked. She was on her couch without clothes, but she was covered by a blanket. She told the deputies that she was expecting them.
Okay, there's something wrong up there.
Yeah, she was informed of the warrant, and the actress promptly told them to leave her alone and that she wasn't going anywhere. They asked her to put clothes on. She refused, so they cuffed her while naked, then dressed her in clothes from the jail. Apparently, Leanne even refused to walk to the patrol car and had to be carried out. Then she threatened to have the deputies killed.
Yep.
Threatening a peace officer, right? Okay.
I'm speechless.
You know, all I can say is she might be better off on the Starship because she needs to get far away now. She needs to make it to the Delta Quadrant. She needs to, get away.
Hopefully she has some deal, meds that are making her crazy or something.
Last up, I got a story from a listener, Roger Heisman. And I'm kind of glad he did, because I don't get a lot of direct UK news over here. I get some tangential stuff or really big stories, but not a whole lot of, interesting or strange stories. This one made me sit up. There's a woman named Gail Newland. She has been arrested for sexual assault on another woman.
Okay.
That story in itself may not sound too weird, but it gets really strange, okay? She's from Williston, Cheshire, and she told the police that she and this woman were engaging in role-play and fantasy. But the Chester Crown Court found her guilty on 3 sexual assault charges. She was cleared of 2 other counts of the same charge. Apparently, the woman she had been sleeping with didn't know she was a girl.
What?
During the trial, it came out that Gail Newland admitted to creating a fake Facebook profile in the name of Kai Fortune. She pretended to be a man. She struck up a friendship with another woman online back in 2011. She initially met this other woman who they're calling... She, as Kai, said that she wasn't well enough to see this other woman due to being treated for car accident injuries and a brain tumor. But they did speak frequently by phone. Miss Newland arranged to meet the woman for sex at a hotel on the condition that the other woman wear a blindfold because Kai was embarrassed by his scars. They spent more than 100 hours in each other's company in various hotels and the victim's flat. And apparently part of the reason why this woman didn't catch on that she was being rubbed up and down by another woman was because every time Newland came over to see this woman, she was wearing a dildo.
Huh.
A strap-on, I assume.
I would hope so. Otherwise, that's Kegel control. The woman insisted that she'd always believed Kai had been a man and told the court, quote, "In hindsight, I wished I had ripped that mask off sooner," unquote. Apparently, during their final sexual encounter together, the victim removed the blindfold and saw Newland instead of a dude.
That's gotta be weird.
Because I'm really glad to know this story comes out of England, because if you read this in the U.S., the first question is, or the first statement usually out of any American's mouth would be, fucking Craigslist, right?
Yeah.
And when Newland was found guilty, she shouted, "How can you send me down for something I have not done?" Either she has multiple personality disorder or she's in wonderful denial. She broke down from there in tears and repeatedly said, quote, I don't understand, unquote, after the verdict was returned. The judge thanked the jurors for careful consideration of the case and said it would represent a, quote, difficult sentencing exercise, unquote. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I can't even...
You know what really scares me, though, is that prior to sentencing, Miss Newland has been released on bail. This woman needs to be locked the frick up, man. She is unsafe. At the very least, rip out every phone line in our house. This, God damn it, that is mind-bending what this woman has done.
I mean, technically she didn't hurt her.
Physically? No. Emotionally, that woman's going to be a mess.
Yeah, she's going to be very sexually confused for a while.
Very much so. Let alone trust issues beyond and beyond. So the story of
some baggage.
That's a Princess Cruise worth of baggage, dude. The story of the week is the 2003 volume, I believe it is, of Cable and Deadpool. It's the first series where the two characters shared headlines. It was an ongoing that lasted, I believe, 30-some-odd issues, although my memory on that is a little bit hazy. And, I don't even know if I would call this one of those in-continuity stories, because a lot of the things that happened don't require anything else to be known. Mm-hmm. All you have to have is a basic idea of who Deadpool is, and this, at least in my opinion, the story does a pretty good job of explaining everything else on its own. You don't need to read a whole lot of Marvel comics to understand this one.
Yeah, but it's kind of nice because it doesn't do a whole lot of exposition.
Not really, because Deadpool does a lot of his own.
Yeah.
The first 2 pages are him just watching TV.
And yelling at it.
Yeah,
right.
Like several days worth of him just watching TV, apparently that bored. Although, if you want an idea of what the tone of this series is all about, he's distracted by the TV in the middle of the day, his phone rings, and without looking away, somebody tells him through the phone, "Is this Deadpool?" And he doesn't answer them. He puts down the phone and walks away.
To go put on his mask.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
I know. Hello, is there anyone there? I was told this was a number to call if I needed special needs. Hello? And Deadpool comes back, still in his boxers, still in a t-shirt, with his mask on, and just says, "This is Deadpool." Like he won't acknowledge the phone without that stupid mask. It's just the first 5 pages do a really good job of setting up the tone of this series. The mercenary? Well, I prefer well-compensated establishment provocateur.
That was great.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the One World Church? Nope. It's in France. I'll pass. It pays a lot. Good sir, you can't pay me enough to go to France while our countries are at war. We're not at war. We're not? No. Oh, well, how much money? Well, that sure is a lot. Yeah, well, that sure is a lot.
Yeah. I've never read anything with Deadpool before, but it was highly entertaining.
As far as Deadpool goes, is on zaniness, that's kind of light.
Yeah.
That really is light, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
The One World Church is I'm going to say that's an organization that was created for this series. I haven't heard of it before.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either.
They had this interesting philosophy of equality in the form of shaving everyone's heads and then turning their skin blue so they all look alike. The idea, I guess, is that if everyone looks alike, there will be less likelihood for separations and prejudice due to race, which is not a bad goal, but I guess my question is, why blue?
It was
because it was a calming color or something like that?
Nice, peaceful color, I think he said, yeah.
They look like they bathe in the blood of the Smurfs. I don't quite understand.
Blue Man Group.
I don't know. I personally loved that particular part because the blue jokes throughout the show were just hilarious.
I like that. I actually like when Deadpool met the church founder. He's showing them through the grounds of the church, and Deadpool asks him, "So you think purified of self, what, make everyone look the same, think the same?" And the leader of the church says, "Madness or genius? Never could tell the difference." And when he asked why blue, the guy responded with, "It's such a placid color, don't you think?"
You prefer red and black.
Yeah. And I like the fact that he leads him inside the church to their technological lab, and he says, "This is the Ministry of Information." Oh, totally Blofeld!
I didn't get that.
That's a James Bond reference. Stavros Blofeld was a high up in the works of Spectre.
Oh, okay.
I think he was their leader in several of their stories. So, Deadpool is hired to steal a virus from I think, German research lab?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The facade virus. And, unfortunately, that also makes it into the radar of a certain hyper-powered mutant called Cable. And this was kind of an interesting period of his life where the technovirus in Cable was not gone, but at a low point. So his telepathic and telekinetic abilities were really strong.
Extraordinarily so, apparently.
Yeah, V, what do you know of Cable?
Literally nothing.
Oh, God.
Didn't we have that 30-second tirade of you explaining him a while back?
I think I explained... Did I explain Cable or Deadpool? Holy fuck, I don't remember.
Okay.
I thought it was actually
Cable.
Rachel.
If
I
it
thought
was
Rachel.
Oh, no, yeah,
Yeah,
it was
I
Rachel.
think it was Rachel's- Yeah, because...
Oh, was it Rachel Summers? Oh, God.
Yeah.
All
right, here we go.
Seen
God.
Cable and something, but whatever I've seen was very different, so...
Okay, let me get
the clock.
Let me get some air. Starting off with Madeline Pryor, who's a clone of Jean Grey created by Mr. Sinister. She had a relationship with Cyclops and eventually had their firstborn son known as Nathan. Nathan was born in approximately 1986, according to Real World Time. He was an infant when he was infected with a technovirus due to Apocalypse. Because of the machinations, there were no current cures to it, and X Factor at the time, who was being led by Cyclops and Jean Grey without Madeline Pryor being in the picture, they were met by a time traveler known as the Ascani, who said that they had a cure for what was ailing the young baby. They took the baby forward in time, and about 2 years later, all of a sudden this character named Cable comes out of nowhere to turn the New Mutants into X-Force because he needed a rapid response team for mutant problems. Turns out that Cable is Nathan Summers, hyper-age, come forward in time, using his own telepathic and telekinetic abilities to keep the technovirus in check rather than let it run rampant throughout his body. Cable is not to be confused with his own clone known as Strife, a perfect clone without the techno-organic virus, but has all the telekinetic and telepathic abilities to his disposal if necessary. Strife has been known to try and eradicate the mutant race on several occasions, including using the legacy virus, which was known to enhance a mutant's abilities and then kill them in that order.
Okay, I remember the bit about the X-Force thing, but none of the rest of it. Oh, well, and being Summer's son.
Okay, how'd I do?
Pretty good.
Holy fuck. That hurt. So, yeah, this is Cable mostly in control of the technovirus, so he has a large amount of use of his abilities. And this is during the period where he was teaming up with Lee Merriweather from the Daily Bugle. You know, I guess you could say she was one of those earnest reporter types. She almost seemed like a riff on Lois Lane at certain points. But Cable and Deadpool, long story short, without getting into too many details, have different ways in. Cable's is very straightforward, shield himself from bullets and just get in the central facility, while Deadpool has to blow shit up, steal, maim. I don't want to say kill, but definitely maim to get inside. And the two of them get face-to-face, and Deadpool decides to start the conversation. Blow my mind if it isn't Nathan Dayspring, Ascani's son, Summers, Cable, Soldier X. Or you just calling yourself Priscilla now. Cable is fine. So is this going to be one of those testosterone things? Yes,
Probably.
It probably is.
It was great.
And then he blows his brains out.
Well, you told me to.
Yeah, issue 2 is a funny thing when they took that phrase he used at the end of the first issue of blow my mind a little too literally. You know, and then they replayed the last panel a little bit. Blow my mind if it isn't Nathan Dayspring as Candy's son, Summers, Cable, Soldier X. So, Cable, why are you looking so constipated? And that's when he uses telekinetic abilities to blow his mind.
Big hole back there.
Yeah. You just got to give it to Cable, who's not really known for riffs, walking away from and just going, well, you told me to.
I do like, on that note, I liked later in the series where after they had spent some time together, he starts babbling like Deadpool to the enemy.
Yeah. He's just like, damn, I've only been around for a little while, and now here I am.
Yeah.
In this series, or in the second issue, we find out that Cable's telekinetic control is extremely fine to the point of being able to deconstruct things on the fly, more or less. And it seems like an afterthought, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In a way. But I mean, he also was able to telekinetically pull the virus out of that girl too.
Yeah, that came later in the issue. It turns out the facade virus was for some reason swallowed by 3. I guess you could call them self-styled anarchists because honestly they're not very good at it.
Yeah.
They find out that the virus allows them to make themselves malleable so they can change their look into anybody, and one of them decides to pretend to be Tom Cruise and sleep with a bunch of women at the same time.
Oh, was that supposed to be Tom Cruise?
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't sure who exactly he was supposed to be when they said he was someone famous. I took that from the line that Cable said when he came in. Quote, "Just for the record, Minority Report isn't even remotely accurate."
Oh, gotcha.
Oh. That's why he said that. I was very confused.
That's what I took from that. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I always took that.
That also kind of makes sense about the samurai porn star.
Yeah. But just before that, when Deadpool catches up to Cable, he still wants the virus. And I remember, Deadpool is trying to explain to him why he's behind this plan because he's tired of the way he looks. He doesn't like looking like a giant cancer sore all of his life. And as they're discussing it, he says, "So, since my job is bring back safe and sound and yours is search and destroy, I guess kicking your butt is inevitable." And Cable just says, "Don't make me laugh while I do this." "Do what?" And he blows his mind out again. So the virus turned out to be fatal in this format, and it killed the young guy, but not before Cable telekinetically yanked out a bunch of the virus strain from him. And it looked horrible the way he was melting down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The second guy he catches up with, he's already in the midst of a meltdown, but unfortunately he decided to take out his problems on everybody via machine gun. Which...
And the chick with the rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Or Stinger missile.
No, it was a rocket launcher. Stingers have that giant box on it. She had an old-fashioned, looks like a comic book version of a Russian RPG.
Yeah, I think he referred to it as a Stinger missile in the comic, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then he telekinetically disintegrated it, which was a very interesting move. And due to encountering the other two, he was able to yank the virus out of her body before it killed her. But it drained him, and he lost the virus, which Deadpool picked up and delivered to the One World Church via a bottle of Mountain Dew.
Mountainly Dew.
I'll just call a spade a spade. It's Mountain Dew. The third issue starts off interestingly with Cable, I guess you could say, recuperating.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking to his tech man, one of his former six-pack warriors, who it turns out Cable's the one who put him in that wheelchair, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah.
That's a story in and of itself. That the six-pack was before the New Mutants and X-Force, except because of time travel, for him it sort of is and sort of isn't. God, time travelers are fucking complicated.
Mm-hmm.
But he has the equivalent of a therapy session with Professor X, and while he's talking to him, Cable deconstructs his entire villa down to the bolts, and after Xavier leaves, he reassembles it. That's fucking scary.
Yes.
You almost wonder why Cable couldn't do some interesting shit like that in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. A couple pages later,
under duress.
A couple pages later, with Deadpool touring the One World Church's experiments with the facade virus and then playing with that cat is fucking weird.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about the cat.
He looks like a
hairless. It was a weird addendum.
He looks like a hairless Garfield.
Well, it turns out that it's his not dementia, but he was whacked out and everything.
Is the word you're looking for.
There we go.
Yeah, so they just hooked him up and started experimenting on him because he's a damn near infinite amount of genetic material to experiment with.
And we're bound to get the formula right eventually.
Yeah, but the fact that Cable poked his finger into his brain to get that direct psi connection, that's a little freakish. I know that's what the facade virus allows, but for fuck's sake. It was a little cold of Cable to just leave him there so they could experiment on him, though.
Well, Cable has not been especially warm this entire thing.
Yeah.
Cable has never been especially warm. That is not his way. Cable is first and foremost a soldier, and sometimes that does mean sitting back and seeing what your enemies are about to do.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it seemed practical. I knew the guy could regenerate.
But it turns out it works. Deadpool is now blue, and his face is relatively normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cable and Deadpool have a difference of philosophy as to what's about to happen, because Cable steals the facade virus and the way they administer it via optic light. And, of course, because Deadpool is into this church, all of a sudden he decides, no, you can't do that.
Well, and they apparently specifically planned for Cable to try and do that.
Which was an interesting move.
And the two of them start fighting, and things are not going well for either one. I did like the scene where the leader of the church, Anton Crutch, is trying to run away, and Cable throws a sword in his robes between his legs. Yeah. Prime Minister Anton Crutch, so you want to remake people in your image, all blue? You said it was a good plan. It has potential, but I imagine the pitch would be much harder sell if it involved, I don't know, castration? What? In your image? Or what it will be if you don't tell me how to stop the virus inside me?
And then
that's where he reluctantly says, there is no
cure.
And Deadpool stops him, kicks him in the side of the head, and says, hey, if it's 4 o'clock, I must be liking the One World Church thing, but I am not cutting off Mr. Mighty, so let's not even go there. Okay, first of all, Mr. Mighty is the best penis name I've ever heard in my life. Secondly, I did like the fact that Crutch was a little concerned when he kicked away Cable, and he just yelled, "Watch the sword!"
Hey, I would be rather concerned with that myself.
Yes.
V, what were you about to say?
And then they melted.
Yeah,
well,
because
no, Cable grew some stuff, and Deadpool melted.
That's right. Deadpool melted into the ground, and Cable.
No, there was a bit where Deadpool knocked Cable.
Knocked him into the armory.
Yeah, the thing is, the way the virus works is that it suppresses mutant gifts, which means that Cable's technovirus is starting to run rampant. That's what's coming off him. And unfortunately, the thing that nobody took into account was because it suppresses mutant gifts, and while Deadpool is not a mutant, his gifts are mutant-derived. So his body started succumbing to the cancer within it.
Well, one thing I liked after Cable got a hold of all the guns was one of the guns had Liefeld on it.
Yeah, it's Liefeld Extra Small.
What?
Okay, yeah.
The Gatling gun Cable pulled out of that armory Deadpool knocked him into, on the side of it was Liefeld Extra Small. That was both a nod to the creator of Cable and Deadpool, Rob Liefeld, and a knock against him because he was known for making insanely large guns in just about every drawing he's ever done.
Yeah. And I also liked the fact that Cable's like, okay, I tried to do it the hard way. Now I'm going to do it the easy way, which is blow everything up.
Yeah, pretty much. Then the leader of the One World Church finally gets to a car, wants to go to an airport, and finds out he's broke.
Because you can't pay me.
Because Hammer hacked all of his accounts.
Yep.
And money here, money
and
here.
I loved the fact that he gave his mom $3 million, and his mom was like, "No, this time I want 4."
Yeah. Yeah. I liked his recap though. Let's see, $3 million for the NAACP, $3 million for the Magic Johnson Foundation, $3 million for mom. I want 4 this time. And towards the end of the issue, Cable is unable to stand due to the technovirus, but it turns out that Wade Wilson's healing factor has also gone wonkers, and he melts. Slowly.
Yep.
Excruciatingly.
And of course, it happens to take the larynx out last. It's like,
well,
really?
I mean, Cable told him that because of their weird physiologies, was it Deadpool's healing factor might give Cable enough of a boost where he could put his own powers back into use, which would stop the technovirus, and then we've seen his powers. He could probably genetically rebuild Deadpool after that. And then Deadpool asks, and then all they have to do to make this work is somehow share blood. And Deadpool's question is, we're not going to have to kiss or anything, are we?
Oh, and I don't understand. It said he swallowed him, but I don't see the swallowing.
Didn't exactly. After a few excruciating scenes where Deadpool is slowly getting to him, but losing body parts to the point where he's dragging himself by his chin, and then they finally, the fluid that Deadpool melts down into touches Cable. Cable uses that healing
controls
factor
it to surround himself with Deadpool. It looked a little weird because it went purple instead of being red and black. That confused me too.
The skin was still purple underneath that, or not purple, blue underneath that suit. He absorbed all of what was left of Wilson by probably using the last of his telekinesis to draw bits of it to him, and then it started a cascade effect.
Right.
He got better until he drew all of Deadpool into himself telekinetically, and then puked up what remained.
Yeah, which then reformed into Deadpool.
Yeah.
Oh, that was quite, yeah.
A peach-skinned but normal-looking Wade Wilson, yes. And of course, Deadpool being Deadpool, the first thing he does when he gets out is punch Cable in the face and says, "You swallowed me!" My God. And
every panel with Deadpool is awesome. With him speaking, anyways.
Yeah. Let's see. I like the fact that after it's done, Deadpool's picking up what's left of his costume. But more important, Cheer with Color Guard does get bloodstains out.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what? I have to make sure Crutch doesn't try this again. With what? We made mincemeat out of the deliverance machine. And then Cable telepathically talks to a reporter he's in contact with, Lee Merriweather, and Deadpool knows he's doing something, so all he says is, "Rude, I'm standing right here."
They haven't given him the ability to see other people's thought bubbles yet.
Yeah. And Deadpool's getting dressed and says, "Okay, let's go kick his head in. I thought you were sold on the whole Unity thing." "Yeah, well, the whole forgot to mention the melting thing trumped that."
Best way to express that ever.
"We team up. Buddies, right? Riggs and Murtaugh. Bonnie and Clyde." "What, you call dibs on Bonnie?" "Figures."
Cable's an asshole.
Well, yeah,
to an extent, so is Deadpool.
Yeah, but Cable's an unfunny asshole.
They're assholes of different caliber. So Cable tries to track down the leader of the church, and he gets hit by a strange guy in an exosuit. I never caught his name.
I don't know, but he had light powers. It said his real name a couple times. I don't know if he had an actual superhero name.
I was confused by that as well.
Lightmaster. Lightmaster is a C-list villain.
Literally just powered by light?
Projection of light, can transmute into light sometimes. Kind of generic as far as villains go.
But rather powerful when you think about it.
Yeah. And it is interesting. That's an interesting statement of power when Cable tells him, or when Lightmaster is being surrounded by debris by Cable, and Lightmaster tells him, "And I assume trying to telekinetically cover me in a sheath of debris is for my own good?" And Cable tells him, "Beats the alternative," which is, and Cable's telekinetic powers push him to the far side of the moon.
I'm
that's one
guessing
of
he's going to be depowered there?
Not depowered, but it'll take him a bit to get out and back.
Right.
Like 2.3 seconds.
He took him off the board for a little bit. But as far as displays of powers, that is definitely a done moment.
Yeah.
So Cable makes modifications to the machine that he stole from the One World Church, and instead of turning everybody blue, he turned them all pink.
That was a little difficult to see without... I'll be honest, that was a little difficult to see at first until they actually outright just said, "Why pink?"
I didn't think it was that difficult to see. It seemed pretty apparent by this weird ruddy complexion.
To me, it just looked like everyone was supposed to be Caucasian or perhaps Native American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they said pink, I could see it.
That was kind of the funny thing about 2/3 of the way through the issue, because Deadpool was the one chilling out with the leader of the One World Church in a bar.
Yeah. And the guy's like, oh yeah, he used to be this, he used to be this. He's like, I guess it wouldn't have worked after all.
Yeah. Crutch is standing Crutch is standing right next to him with a Mai Tai, and Deadpool says, that guy used to be black. Asian, Caucasian. What kind? Russian. Look at the forehead. Huh. So maybe my plan wouldn't have worked after all. So, in the midst of this issue, Cable is picking up several pieces of his former satellite base. It used to be known as Greymalkin, which is the street that the Xavier Institute was built on originally. And as he does so, he decides he needs to go talk to somebody and initiates his teleporter device, which at the same time yanks Deadpool out as well.
Yep.
Because they shared the blood, they now share a particular genetic signature that the teleporter can't tell the difference between.
That was an interesting plot point.
Yeah, the unfortunate part, though, is that anytime one of them tries to singly teleport, it drags the other and melds them into one creature for a little bit, which has to be forcibly ripped apart.
Yeah, that was
but they heal from it.
Sequence.
Well, again, because they share blood, they're sharing a lot of genetic markers right now, so the computer can't tell them apart.
Right, no, I mean, it was just visually, I was having trouble telling what was going on. It was the dialogue assisted, but...
Yeah, and the only way it works properly right now is if you select to teleport two individuals. And unfortunately, Deadpool also has access to the command structure of that teleporter now.
Yep.
So now you have Deadpool with a teleporter, which usually means global genocide. And now they... I'm sorry?
I was saying he no longer has to pay for travel.
Yep. And now that Cable has rebuilt his station, which is a next-level kind of item that he cleared with nobody, S.H.I.E.L.D. is looking for a little bit of help as to what to do. And they don't need help because they have volunteers. And that's Cyclops and the Astonishing X-Men.
Oh, I thought that was X-Force.
I forgot how much I hated Beast's cat phase until I saw him again. I was like, oh, God, that's horrible.
I like Beast's cat phase. I hated that particular costume. It looked like a weird Tarzan riff, and the way it comes up underneath the pecs and stuff.
The woman on the right, remind me of her name again?
Emma
Frost.
Emma Frost, the White Queen.
Yeah, that's right, the White Queen.
White Queen, founder of the Hellfire Club's training legion, the Hellions. It was.
She's another telepath, isn't she? Or is she?
Yeah, Jean Grey's replacement in more ways than one.
Well, not exactly. She started out as a telepath. She has a secondary mutation now of diamond form. It has it imbues her with super strength and invulnerability, but it shuts off her telepathic abilities when she uses it. She's had 2 legions of teenage mutants underneath her care and tutelage called the Hellions, both of which have met their demise due to different reasons, if I remember correctly.
One was a Sentinel attack.
Yeah, one was a Sentinel attack. The other one was Trevor Fitzroy. Yep, Fitzroy. Let's see. She started a telepathic affair with Cyclops while he was still married to Jean Grey. Before they could get divorced, Jean Grey died, and Jean Grey pushed him telepathically from the grave into a relationship with Emma Frost, because if he refused and left the X-Men, it turns out their future would have been much, much worse. As in mutant global genocide under the command of Sublime.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. In modern comics, they're not seeing each other right now, although that has to do with each of their self-loathing rather than anything either of them particularly did. Both of them see each other as unworthy of the other. Or both of them see themselves as unworthy of the other, not each other. Jeez. I like the art throughout it. The art by Udon, it was very striking. It almost reminded me of Mark Brooks in a lot of places. I did have a little bit of trouble with the coloring. The coloring was kind of flat.
Yes.
I didn't
Distinct.
really have an issue with it.
It was almost like a bunch of stills from a cartoon in a lot of points. Could have used a little more gradation, in my opinion. And
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a little stark.
Well, I mean, the first issue was very detailed, but after that, it seemed to go downhill from issue to issue. I'm only going to guess that the colorist got pressed for times as work piled on, working on this thing. But Mark Brooks is one of my favorite artists in comic books. He has a very unique style of art. Really like his stuff. See, V, you mentioned how you like Deadpool, how he shows up in every panel and there's something comedic going on.
Mm-hmm.
The best character who had a quote about Deadpool was another mutant, Domino.
Who is also a friend of Cable.
Yeah. Okay. Cyclops sent her to talk to him at some point and find out where he stood on a particular issue. And after she came back, she seemed a little confused. And what was it? Cyclops asked her, "So, did you reason with him?" And she stood there thinking for a moment, and then said, "Well, you see, okay, talking to Deadpool is like talking to someone being attacked by bees."
Okay, why?
Random is the course of the day. Okay? Good example. He sent Domino back to neutralize Deadpool so they could deal with somebody that he had threatened to kill. See, at this point, Deadpool wanted to be an X-Man, and there was a mutant hater making a lot of very public statements. He decided the best way to be a help to the X-Men would be to kill this guy. And the X-Men thought, no. So they sent Domino to go neutralize him. He spent all morning cooking pancakes. And when I say all morning, I mean cooking an insane amount of pancakes. So when Domino encountered him on the roof of his building, he kept his hands up, but he kept walking toward her. She kept backing up because she really didn't want to shoot him. You know, he meant really well, but you really don't want to let him in your personal space because as crazy as he is, Deadpool is an insanely good fighter. So as he stepped forward, she stepped back, and eventually she realized she was standing in the middle of a skylight that gave way. She landed in a swimming pool that had no water in it because it was filled with pancakes.
Oh. That's bad.
That was his way of getting rid of her. No, he couldn't devise a trap or just neutralize her. He dunked her in pancakes.
That he spent all morning cooking.
You know, and Deadpool has a strange way of being able to get into someone's head with his voice. At one point, Domino tried to convince him not to go forward with what he was doing. And he said, you know what? It's really weird. I have like all these random fears, you know, like cows. I really just want to shoot every cow I see. They just mess me up. You got anything like that? And she says, yeah, chickens. Really? What do they do for you? Well, they just... Never mind. I'm not answering this question right now. And of course, later on, when Deadpool escapes, Cyclops sends Wolverine to deal with the problem to help Domino, which is almost like saying kill it and kill it dead. So they have to...
Deadpool.
Yeah, so they're following Deadpool into a subway, and Domino crawls into a vent. Wolverine's right behind her, and Cyclops just asks, how's it going? Wolverine says, we're catching up to him. We're taking an alternative route, but he bumps right into Domino's ass. He says, hey, Domino, what's going on? Get a move on. I can't. Why not?
There's a chicken.
There's a chicken in the middle of the fucking vent.
That's hilarious.
And she's an assassin herself.
Yep. So, you know, the series is very comedic. It takes a little bit of groundwork to get caught up on, but it does amaze me how easily someone could slide into this book.
Oh, yeah.
It really takes limited to no background of knowledge of Marvel.
It would be nice to know more about Cable, but...
Oh, God, you have to read so much going back to the 80s to figure this shit out, and even then, you'll never get a full picture of him.
I would have been... I like the little parts with Cable in it, with Deadpool in it, I could probably have done without the Cable.
Well, that's why Deadpool...
I realize it'd be an entirely different plot without Cable, but...
Yeah, it is entirely different. Deadpool's had a number of his own series, and his delusions vary. I mean, this book, I would argue, is probably Deadpool at his most sane since his healing factor kicked in. There's no extra dialogue. He's not talking to himself.
Yeah, the next one that I can see that was really good, in my opinion, was when he was facing off against the Dark Avengers.
That was close.
That was just...
I mean, even then, he wasn't facing most of the Dark Avengers. He was dealing with Bullseye.
Yeah.
Well, what was the girl? Because he was sitting there confessing his love to her, and she was actually believing it for a while.
That's a complicated story, because who he was talking to was the Yelena Belova Black Widow, the second one, right?
That's right.
Turns out he wasn't talking to her at all.
Oh.
That was a
He was
plant.
talking to himself?
That was
No.
Natasha Romanoff in fucking disguise. The Dark Avengers had a spy as their leader. So the Black Widow, the one that reports to Nick Fury, was the one who was spying on Norman Osborn during that period. But that was a whole other complicated issue. No, there was a period where Deadpool had not one voice in his head he talked to, but two.
3, I thought.
Nope, just 2. It maxed out at 2. There's only a story of a third personality if you count the story where Deadpool killed the Marvel Universe. The one where there's a new persona that kind of killed the other 2 and then forced him to kill everything. 2 is where it maxed out, and it turns out his neuroses was only half earned. The yellow boxes of his monologue are him talking to himself, right?
Right.
The white boxes are another character entirely. It was revealed in a subsequent story of Deadpool, I think in his annual, that he and another character that's known to bend reality and is also insane called Madcap had an adventure versus each other. They both ended up near incinerated, but they both have insane healing factors, and their ashes got caught in a dust devil, which intermingled them. So when their healing factors kicked in, there was only one body left. So the white boxes in Deadpool's head is Madcap. They had an annual
I always
where they
thought he was talking to his cancer tumors.
No, they resolved that in the weirdest way possible. Deadpool was talking to himself and decided he just had too much going on and needed a little more quiet. So what he did was he grabbed a lamppost and the back of something else, something mobile, and just held on. The vehicle took off and ripped him in half. Half of him regrew into Deadpool, the other half regrew into Madcap. They separated in the most forceful way possible.
Seems very brutal.
It was. But I don't think since that point, Deadpool hasn't had a whole lot of internal monologue. It seems like they've kind of chilled out on the neuroses a bit since then. Every once in a while, he'll remark on how lonely he is, but that's only a nod back to his multiple personality days.
Multiple personalities are so fun.
I would argue that with Bruce Banner, Danny Ketch, Johnny Blaze, and a few other people. Oh, fuck, the Sentry. Holy fuck. But
Oh, wow.
But back to the thrust of the story, I'm kind of surprised how many people I could refer this to. For a Deadpool story, it's surprisingly light on violence.
Yeah, it has its parts, but yeah, it's not horrifically violent.
Oh, come on. The Deadpool... No. Yeah, Deadpool, after he came back, after Agent X took over. Do you remember that? Agent X was like a Deadpool clone almost. Because of reasons I can't explain, they're too complicated. They technically share the same kind of powers and personality. They fought outside of Weasel's apartment. Weasel is Deadpool's tech expert and occasional help. You know, Weasel heard the explosions, and then he gets a knock at the door, and there's Deadpool, half of his costume blown off, bleeding a bit. He says, "Hey, Weasel, how's it going?" "I'm okay." "What happened out there?" "Oh, I ran into that stupid clone of me again." And Weasel goes to the window. He says, "Oh, God, did you have to?" "Oh, did you like that?" "Yeah, that's great." "Did you have to spell my name in his entrails?" That's average Deadpool. So, yeah, I would think there's... Obviously, this would go really good for people looking for comedies. But as far as Deadpool goes, it's PG-13. So I'm kind of surprised how many people I could give this book to. And it's a good point.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's actually got a somewhat interesting
you know
plot.
What,
like, they actually... Like, the whole Church of the One thing is an interesting debate topic.
Yeah, actually, this series is what got my wife into comic books. I was reading these and laughing. Then I put down my comics and put them away. I come back in the room after the kids had gone to sleep. She was trying to figure out what the fuck was so funny. So she read this, and all of a sudden, she wants everything Deadpool. Watches, T-shirts, video games, cards,
You know what? I can agree with that, because I was just about to say that I think I might try to watch or read more Deadpool stuff.
Well, you're in luck. It turns out next year there's going to be a movie.
Oh, yeah? Oh, that's right. I think I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, but don't make the mistake of watching the Wolverine movie.
X-Men Origins Wolverine, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. No.
Yeah, don't watch that.
Ryan Reynolds does an awesome Wade Wilson. The Deadpool, they butchered it.
Well, no,
but then that wasn't really Ryan Reynolds at that point, so yeah.
Nope.
Well, I remember them interviewing him about that. He said, yeah, he loved playing Wade Wilson. And when it came to the subject Deadpool, he kind of danced around the subject. Didn't really badmouth it, but...
Well, that's because he didn't play the role. He disagreed so much with what they did with the character of Deadpool, he refused to film those scenes, so they hired somebody else.
Oh.
That's somebody else. That somebody else is Deadpool, and that's the reason why they wrote it so that his mouth was sewn shut.
Yep.
That's weird.
It really was. It was the source of a lot of complaints. All I can say about the Deadpool from that movie is it's really not worth going over, but if I had to describe it in simple words, Cyclops Wolverine Nightcrawler hybrid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple terms, and I won't go any deeper than that because I really don't want to make you go watch it.
No.
But yeah, I'd recommend this book to just about anybody over the age of 13. I mean, it's a fun read.
Yeah.
It's not gonna form any serious thrust of conversation. It forms of sociological issues. The whole one world church thing was kind of it wasn't really a statement on society so much as it was a good reason to take two characters who shouldn't meet and make them do stuff together.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, for some reason, I felt like when I say fast, it went fast. But what I mean by that, it wasn't rushed. It felt like, oh my god, I'm done already? What the hell?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of moments of characters sitting around the coffee table talking about what they're going to do next. They just did shit.
Yeah. It was...
No. They carried that kind of conversation in the fighting.
It was truly, fun to read from the standpoint of, you didn't know what they were going to do next, but it was going to be something zany, and it just the flow was really good.
If you want to know where this series really heads to, all you need is the first page of the first issue. It's a summary story for both characters. Cable. Nathan Summers is one of the world's mightiest mutants, but recently his telekinetic and telepathic abilities have spun out of control. Nathan struggles, at war with himself and the times he lives in, because he knows that the only way to forge a peaceful tomorrow is to fight for peace today. Deadpool. Wade Wilson is a gun for hire, a byproduct of the military's Weapon X program. Wilson was given incredible strength, agility, and healing powers, but at a price. His cellular structure is in constant flux, and his sanity is questionable. An outsider. All Wilson wants to do is swim in the societal cesspool, preferably the breaststroke, but no Speedos.
That description was awesome. It really sets the expectation for the kind of thing you're about to be reading.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely know which one is the clean one and which one's the dirty one in this little buddy comedy.
Mm.
So, yeah, I can think of a bunch of people I'd like to give this to. Anything else you guys want to add?
Read it if you want to have some fun.
All right. I was trying to give some thought about what to do for next week. I have an idea, and it's one that I think will resonate terribly well with this particular crew.
Okay.
I think it's time we got into Irredeemable.
I know not what that is.
Irredeemable is an interesting story that it really does resonate with what we believe. Irredeemable is a story from Boom Studios. It follows the fall of the world's greatest superheroes at the hands of one of their own. It's written by Grant Morrison. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's written by Mark Waid. Waid is one who did the Empire books, if you remember those.
Okay.
This is the same kind of thing, but from a different angle. It's about the story of the hero, the Plutonian. You know, an alien that came to Earth with incredible superpowers and everybody looks up to him and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He snaps and starts killing the world's superheroes and telling the world to get in line or I will fucking destroy you. Think Superman on a fucking bender. And I mean, it's not even the point where I'm going to do things better by just ruling you. No, he wants to just make people stop staring at him like he's a fucking outsider. Sound interesting?
Yeah.
I read it a while ago, and I don't remember a lot of the story bits. All I can remember is in the first few pages, he kills his world's version of Batman very quickly.
I'm sold.
No, he incinerates him and his wife and kids.
Ooh,
that's
it's
pretty
one of
dark.
It's one of those stories. Sound good?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. How many?
4.
I was just about to say 4.
4 issues of Irredeemable? All right. So next week it is Irredeemable by Boom Studios. It was written by Mark Waid and was done with Peter Krause. The book came out in April of 2009. All right?
Okay.
All
right. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. I invite you to roll with us again next week. We discuss the Boom Studios book, Irredeemable. Thank you very much. Have a great week. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
Jesse.
And B.
Don't jerk and drive, and Chili, good fucking luck to you. All seriousness. Thank you very much. Some people are going to hear that and think I just told Chili to jerk and drive and shit. Fuck.